What is happening out there, Rotoscouts baseball fans? Good to see you, gang. Welcome to a Wednesday afternoon show. Apologies for the late start, a couple minutes later than our scheduled start time, as poor Joker tries to get out of the room with a big cone on his head so that he can't lick his itchy spot. Let's see if he can make it. It's kind of a narrow doorway because there's a thing on the other side of the door, so he's basically stuck halfway in between. I can just barely see him right here. Fun way to start the show. Apologies for the late start. A couple minutes late, I had to swap out Carson Whisenhunt. Carson Whisenhunt, the announced starter for Game 2 for the Giants. Had JT Brubaker in there originally, kind of a speculative move on my part. He was projected in a couple other spots. Thought maybe he would get it in a bullpen game, but they're actually using the 27th man caddy for the double team, the double header today, or the renewal of last night's postponed game. So it'll be Carson Whisenhunt going for the Giants tonight. That just got updated up on the site, updated the Braves opposing projections. We'll see what they do with that lineup. Pitching projections are updated, so you should be ready to rock and roll for this one. We are here to talk about 7 games on DraftKings, 6 games on FanDuel, where they did not include that second game of the Giants and Braves series. Lot to go through. Interesting looking slate. Kind of an ugly night for pitching. A lot of good spots for offense. Should be a fun one to break down. Hopefully you guys out there are doing well. A couple people here in the chat. Nobody's sounded off to announce their presence yet, but it looks like a few people are here hanging out. Some latecomers. It was a short announcement, short time frame on the announcement. We'll see who turns up. Before we dive into the runs board here, let's break down the contest. Here's today's stacks board for those who are looking for it. It's up on the website at rotoscouts.com, rotoscouts.com. Give that a look. You can access that behind the paywall. Everything's always under $1 a day at Rotoscouts. And I'll mention this. Actually, I'll keep it in my pocket. New detail scrolling across the bottom of your screen. But I'll get to the promo when there's more people in the house. Looking at our home run picks contest leaderboard real quick. New entry beyond the rabbit hole on the leaderboard. Got a correct pick last night that was an oddball because it came in that suspended game. First, 2 innings of that game? Had Drake Baldwin as his pick, and boy, oh boy, the Drake went deep. Nobody else hit one yesterday. We had a bunch of entries. So we're still looking at Loyalty Chisel up at the top of the leaderboard, which is right over here. He's got 3 correct on his way to 5. Cujo in second place with 2, and then Larry C. and Rabbit tied with 1 apiece. Nobody else gotten a correct one yet. Lost my pick yesterday when we didn't have Kyle Higashioka start that game, unfortunately. He didn't get in there and pinch hit or anything, did he? I never bothered to swing back and check. I don't think he did. Can't imagine they would have pinch hit Kyle Higashioka, but stranger things have happened. Let's see. While we're waiting for people to pop up. There's also a lopsided Twins victory, 12-2 in that game. Does not look like Mr. Higashioka got himself into that game, unfortunately. So I didn't get my pick either. Well, there's your leaderboard. If you haven't been here, we're running a multi-day home run picks contest. Got to swing back after the show's over. Leave your home run pick of the day as a comment on this video. It's got to be from the games we're talking about, which is important for tonight because there's a big afternoon slate that's ongoing right now. Nobody can pick from that one, not even the games that haven't started yet. Only the 7 games that we're talking about during this show, and that applies every show. It's only for what we cover on the show, what I'm picking from. You only get 1 use of Ohtani or Judge. Our leader, Loyalty Chisel, has already used up his Ohtani. Obviously, Judge is on the IL. You cannot use my pick of the day, which I will announce during the course of the show. 1 pick per person per day. It's totally free to enter. You got to use the same YouTube handle. You don't get credit across multiple handles, so they'll just count as 1 apiece if you hit 1 on one name and 1 on the other one. So don't do that to yourself. Use the same name every time. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're feeling it on the way down to leave a comment as well. Appreciate all the likes we get. Appreciate everybody being enthusiastic about coming back and leaving comments. Those really do actually feed the algorithm. We're picking up more and more views every single day. So really appreciate you guys. And 11 people here. I might as well. Larry wants to pick Kyle Stowers as his pick. Nope. Only from the games that are yet to start and are on this slate. Stowers went deep earlier today with Otto Lopez on base, I believe. My buddy Green was texting about that because he's got Kyle Stowers, I think, and Otto on his team now. Where was I? About to scroll across the bottom of your screen. After that word details goes away. You feel like giving us a try? New promo code for you. Free first week. Just for the heck of it. Free first week. Your first week at Rotoscouts for now is free. No matter what. Use promo code TRYME, all one word, capital T, capital M. 100% free first week. No commitment required. It will renew at regular price, which is $6.93 for a weekly after that first week, if not canceled in that first week. I'd love it if you stay on, but you will not get billed a dime if you cancel it somewhere in between there. 100% free. Comes with a... Hey, Michael Knack. Where's that coming from, buddy? Yeah, I don't appreciate you using some unacceptable terms in my chat. So I'm going to give you the boot, Michael Knack. First person I've ever kicked out. See you. Michael Knack's no longer welcome here. That was weird. Just a stunning drop-in from somebody who's been a long-time viewer. Yeah, we don't use derogatory terms for people around here. We don't judge people for their sexual preference, color of their skin, religion, anything else like that. It's the United States of fucking America. And based on your comment, you should understand that. Joker's pissed off at you, too. That's really disappointing. Yeah, Lara, I'm not going to repeat the comment. It was just unacceptable. It's the year 2026, people. Anyway, makes me want to give away free weeks less. Let's get back on track. So, promo code TRYME, capital T, capital M. Get you a free week of Rotoscouts on your first week on a weekly subscription at any time. That is ongoing for now. Till I end it. Yeah, it really did, Larry. Sure, it really, really did. I mean, I don't get it. I hope he was being sarcastic or something and chose his words poorly. Good boy, Joker. Settle in. All right. So anyway, there's your stacks board for the day. We'll get into it. It's a very interesting slate. Let's pull up the run board. Talking about these games here in yellow. Those ones are the ongoing ones or the ones that already happened today. Got the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. The corpse of Max Scherzer is on the mound for Toronto. It looks like a great spot to be grabbing some Red Sox bats and taking some upside. Love the looks of some Boston Power bats. Home run pick of the day comes from the Boston Red Sox. Probably not the guy you're thinking I took. I almost took that guy. Love the look of that guy. He's in double digits in the home run model today, but I took another one of their big lefties. Really interested in some Red Sox bats that come in at interesting enough pricing. And on FanDuel in particular, they have just unique positional flexibility throughout that lineup, as we'll see in a little bit. So very interested in them. Going the other direction, Jake Bennett, young lefty for the Red Sox. His one positive attribute through the minor leagues has been really very effective at limiting home run power, limiting launch angle, keeping the ball down. Couple of okay up and down type starts, 5 innings and change. I gave him 5 for this one. I do think those pesky Blue Jays with a 4.57 implied total on their side could definitely get to a kid like that, no problem. Just might not be the best spot for an already somewhat light hitting in terms of home runs Blue Jays squad. If the kid's doing his thing and keeping the ball on the ground. He's given up 1 home run in his 3 starts, 15 and a third so far in the show. So we'll see where it goes. But I do prefer the Blue Jays bats on their side, and that's one of the fair totals on the board. They probably don't get as popular as, say, the Yankees, who went off like crazy after we talked about them a little bit yesterday. I don't think they go off as highly owned as their opponents. Probably not as much as the Braves on that DraftKings slate, and then certainly not as much as the Cubbies, the Pirates, or the A's. So that one you might be able to slip through with some quality against a inexperienced starter. Anthony Kay on the mound to get his teeth kicked in by the New York Yankees. I shouldn't say it that way because he'll probably come out and shut them out over 7 innings and strike out 10 of them. But Anthony Kay looking more like a target even for the judgeless Yankees. They come in at nearly a 5-run total in their home ballpark. Little weather in the area. Roth does have that one as yellow on the board. Passing showers, pop-up storms late in the afternoon on a hot, humid day. Kind of a thing, though. Nothing to really be concerned about outside of a little bit of a delay. We just had some weather roll through here. Might be a little bit more later in the afternoon, but it blew through in like 5 minutes and we were fine. So nothing crazy to worry about there. The White Sox side of that one, they're going up against Carlos Rodon. Rodon can be vulnerable from time to time. By and large, has pitched fairly well, 3.19 ERA, but a 4.27 xFIP under the surface shows, some of the lack of underlying quality. 34 strikeouts over his 31 innings. Good strikeout option, good option overall on this slate. But don't be shocked if the White Sox put one in the seats, hang 4 or 5 runs on him, and just kind of bend the day a little bit for one of the usable pitchers on the slate. 3.69 implied total, not the best target in the world, but Yankee Stadium can help home run power a little bit for anybody. The Giants and the Braves. That one's only on your DraftKings slate. 9-run total there. It's Carson Whisenhunt going for the Braves. Whisenhunt going for the Braves against J.R. Ritchie by all accounts going for the Giants against J.R. Ritchie going for the Braves, unless something has changed there. If that has, we'll catch it. I think that feeds the upside for the Braves. When I put Carson Whisenhunt into the model just before the show, I had to put my thumb on it a little bit because of his short sample numbers. He had given up 6 home runs in the major leagues in very limited action so far in his career. Pitching entirely at AAA over 13 starts this year. He's been somewhat effective, 77 Ks in 69 innings, 3.65 ERA at that level. So a capable enough kid. I just think probably a little overmatched, and the Braves are showing an awful lot of power against even after I put my thumb on it. 4.89 implied for them. Giants probably usable at that 4.21 implied total as well. That is one of the medium grade totals on this board. So you can throw them at a underexperienced J.R. Ritchie. Gavin Williams, Brandon Sproat in the next one. Tale of 2 pitchers. Gav, tremendous. Ran into a couple bumps in his 2 most recent starts, but it amounted to 3 earned runs in each. They were just a little bit shorter. They both came against the Yankees home and away. 5 1/3 and 5 innings. Struck out 6 in one, 5 in another one. He just got dinged by power, which can happen to anybody against the Yanks. 2 home runs allowed in each game. Otherwise, mostly tremendous. A couple blips going through the season, but a very capable kid. 3.32 ERA and an even better 3.17 xFIP. Tons of strikeout, 99 Ks and 86 2/3 over his 14 starts. So great looking option. Just troubling opponent with the Brewers and their ability to sequence and create runs. But you can see they're checked down under 4 implied runs. And then go in the other direction. Brandon Sproat, who has not been good. 5.70 ERA, a 4.53 xFIP. He's a talented kid. He's an up-and-comer and a high pedigree prospect, but hasn't really put it together overall at the major league level. Going up against a super gettable version of the Guardians with Noah Ramirez is definitely a better target than one might think. 3.62 implied total suggests that there's plenty of upside in going to Sproat. I don't have a ton of trust. I think the Guardians maybe get a little bit interesting on their side of that one. A couple of the big lefty bats, maybe some Rhys Hoskins mixed in there. There's some interesting names to look at. Maybe they sneak through as a lower owned value squad on this one. So I wouldn't write them off completely against a gettable Sproat. Sean Sullivan making his second start. He had that first one was cut short last week in Las Vegas. He actually pitched pretty well. He went out there and took 3 innings for the team, faced 12 hitters, struck out 2 of them, allowed 2 hits, but no runs in that launching pad. And then he came out of the game because he got sick. I don't know if he got nervous about going through the lineup again or what it actually was, but they called it an illness, took him out of the game. By all accounts, ready to pitch full, 5 innings, 5+ in this one. Was making regular starts in the minor leagues, got out, completed the 6th inning in 3 of them. So, reasonable ability to pitch beyond the 5th, but I think we would expect maybe 5 innings here if all goes to plan for Sean Sullivan. Talented kid. The numbers, if you look at his minor league numbers for this year, they're going to be very skewed from the PCL. I think you just completely ignore them. Pacific Coast League, it's like pitching every game at Coors Field. So it's just not a fair sample. But he is pushing a 5.83 implied total toward the Cubs, and they're the leading offense on the slate. So do with that information what you will. For the Cubbies, it's Javier Assad, who we picked off as a nice value play last time out, 6 innings. Three hits, no runs, struck out 5 in that one. That was the ideal version of a Javier Assad start. You can easily see that coming against the Rockies again today. They're pulling a 4.29 implied total. It's not nothing against him, and the conditions favor hitting in this one with a 10-run total at Wrigley, the wind's blowing out, et cetera, et cetera. I do think Assad probably gets attention this time out, though. We were looking at him as a cheapo, low-owned type of a sneaky guy last time out. Since he pulled it off, I think he gains people's attention. The spot against the Rockies will gain people's attention, and just a short, ugly pitching slate. Pirates and the A's. We don't really want much of the pitching in this one, I don't think. Braxton Ashcraft, who has mostly been good, 3.30 ERA, 3.31 xFIP, but obviously a high danger situation for him going up against that A's team in this ballpark. Near 5 implied total, despite how good he's been, speaks a lot there. He struck out 90 over 84 2/3, though. Again, he's been very, very good throughout the season. Maybe a little bit of a ding to the power upside for the A's, but only just barely. Don't really love the Ashcraft shares. He might be more necessary to the two-starter site, though. Aaron Savali making his return to the mound for the Athletics. Pretty big no thank you. He was good, apparently, in his rehab starts, and I just don't care. We've seen enough of Aaron Savali to know that we can target him with some Pirates bats. They're pulling a 5.20 implied total as the visiting team out at Sutter today. So fire away with some Pirates, even with no O'Neill Cruz in that lineup still. And then we round things off with Kyle Bradish against George Kirby. Interesting enough spot. Super pitcher-friendly park. Lowest total on the board at 7.5. 3.61 going to the O's. 3.96 going to the Mariners. I think we know what to do with that one. That's our big-time pitching game. Both are usable offenses. There's a little power showing. There's playability on the offenses there, but on a short pitching slate, I think we're going to need those two arms toward the end of the night. Prefer Kirby over Bradish, but Bradish usable at worst. Sullivan Stimple to Steve Nebraska. Yeah, not him, but I know what you're getting at, Larry. Yeah, it was Michael Rappaport's character, whatever that kid's name was at the beginning of the movie, running down the Deegan, taking his uniform off. I remember. It's a great movie. If you've never seen the Scout Albert Brooks movie, Albert Brooks baseball movie, tremendous, funny movie, really good baseball flick. He's the titular scout. Gets fired by the Yankees, goes off to Mexico, finds Brendan Fraser as a two-way, basically finds Shohei Ohtani playing in an anonymous league in Mexico. And, Shohei Ohtani exaggerated to the point where he hits a 500-foot home run on every pitch, throws the ball 120 miles an hour. It knocks the catcher over when he throws the fastball. Great movie, though. Really funny. Albert Brooks in general. If you're not aware of Albert Brooks, you probably know him from the movie Defending Your Life. That's probably his most popular movie. But check out the full catalog. Guy's brilliant. Anyway, weird start to the show. Let's get into this one now on the board here. Still don't believe that. Michael Mack, don't know what you're doing. George Kirby, top of your board, 93. Nice, generous price. 9,000 on the DraftKings slate. Super usable. Going up against an Orioles team that is good at creating runs against right-handed pitching, but there's some healthy strikeout there. The ballpark helps. George Kirby's just tremendous, so no issues with using him in massive degrees. I think you're going to have a lot of George Kirby in your pocket at the end of the night. Gavin Williams, 11,000, obviously gets a little bit bendy. The Brewers are very good at creating 3 to 5 runs, and at that price tag, that could hurt you pretty badly. 93 is a lot more reasonable on DraftKings and just competes with all the other guys on the slate that are in that tier. 11,000 separates him from everybody not named Braxton Ashcraft, I'd say, and Ashcraft is in a deadly bad situation. So I really don't love the upside for the two most expensive pitchers on FanDuel. Would use either one of them, and I do have enough trust in Gavin Williams that I would, if I can get there, I would roster him against the Brewers, but I would expect a couple few runs. And if it gets over 3, and if he doesn't have a shot at that quality start, you're going to be hurting for that 11,000. Carlos Rodon, 10,000 works. 8,700 works a lot better. Very playable starter. Every now and then runs into issues. Going up against the White Sox team with a sub-4 implied total in his home park, though. A lot of faith in the upside for Carlos Rodon. He could put a little bit of a ceiling on that projection. He's separated slightly from the other two, but all things are basically equal among those top 3. You can see where Assad lands. I almost put, I was doing the like for the description for the video all the way at the bottom. There's like, hashtag Judge, Ohtani, Yankees, MLB DFS, home run picks, et cetera, et cetera. And I tweet those for the day to day. And I almost put hashtag Assad. And I was like, well, that might get us some weird clicks. I don't know if I want to do that. Because you can't put Javier Assad. You can put it all as one word, but then it doesn't really work because nobody's going to search it that way. But yeah, I left him off. 63. DraftKings did you a nice favor there. That is your bargain pitcher of the day, your SP2 of the day. I would expect even more to my point about him getting popular today, though, where he was pretty low on the last time out. People are going to be all over that spot for lack of better options. You do have Brandon Sproat at 58 a couple spots later and not all that far removed by projection, but I think we've got more upside and more trust in Javier Assad at this point. There's more Ks in that Colorado lineup than there are in the Guardians lineup. He's just more proven and pitching better than Brandon Sproat. That probably renders Sproat, even at the lower price by $500, a little bit lighter owned, but I think there will be enough weight on him and I don't have all that much trust. So not a great option there. I think Javier is going to get really popular. 86 on FanDuel maybe pushes some ownership away. I mean, if you're getting to 86, could you go to 88 and get yourself to Kyle Bradish? I think a lot of people would do that. Could you get yourself to 93 and get up to George Kirby? I think a lot of people would do that. So maybe you get a little lane where Assad falls through the cracks. And it's also important to keep in mind, he's projected several points higher than he was the other day. This is not a very good pitcher that we're talking about. He's okay. He has his good 6-inning, nice clean game, just like that last one with limited strikeout upside that he brings to the mound from time to time. But know that one could go sideways as well in good hitting conditions out at Wrigley. Ashcraft just in a lot of trouble in that ballpark. We've seen good pitchers implode, etc. So I don't love that, especially not at 10-6, especially not at 9-8, second most expensive FanDuel guy, most expensive pitcher on DraftKings. But again, he has been very, very good. There are also some strikeouts in that Athletics lineup. Bradish at 88, 83 looks very, very playable from kind of the middle of the board, but offset from everybody else. I think he's your real clear cut line here. And then you're getting into a troubling version of Brandon Sproat for cheap. Jarrett Ritchie on the DraftKings slate at 68 to target that Giants lineup for probably 5 innings. It's okay, but the Giants have been a little bit better lately. There's some good bats in that lineup. Anthony Kay against the Yankees is kind of a pretty big no thank you, especially when he's several hundred more than any of the other bargain bin guys here. Max, I already talked about being just dead on the mound and using Red Sox bats against him. He is crazy cheap, 6,100 on FanDuel, 65 on DraftKings. If these guys happen to go pop, he doesn't even need to pitch well to pay that off. But Max is at the point where he might pitch under 3 innings and go negative on you. It's been that bad with Max Scherzer. This is maybe a reasonable dart to throw at 5 cheap innings. Again, the kid is demonstrably good at inducing ground balls, keeping the ball in the park. So I think he's playable, probably a lot more so on DraftKings. Wisenhunt, with all the upside shown for the Braves, seems a little bit rough. 6,400, it's a dart at best on the DK slate. 52 for Sean Sullivan, given what the talent level might look like, the fact that people might be seeing the 3 innings from the other day and thinking that he's going to be more limited than he is if all goes to plan, maybe that 52 is usable. I don't think you're getting the quality start. I don't think you're getting him at the 67 on FanDuel, but the 52 might be worthwhile. Aaron Savali at a not high price, but high for him in that situation. Doesn't really look good at the bottom of the board. Max is out? What happened? When did that happen? $50 seconds ago, Larry's all over it. Max Scherzer, back spasms, placed on the 15-day IL. Oops. Twitter changing the link location for copy the link is driving me bananas. I keep on trying to accidentally send by chat. Yeah, that's the report. All right, so you don't get to attack Max Scherzer. Don't see an announcement yet of who it's going to be. Larry, let me know if you spot it, or anybody else obviously out there. Larry's just all over it. Looks like the Yanks lineup came in. White Sox lineup, I think, is already in there. All right, so we'll see what the Jays try and do. It might actually diminish the spot somewhat for the Red Sox so that they don't get to face Max Scherzer. He was just looking like a pincushion out there. But let's get into this thing. I'll hit the lineup button. When I hit the lineup button, if you haven't already, you guys hit the like button out there. Really appreciate all the likes we're getting lately, all the comments on the show. Swing back after the show's over. Leave a comment. Leave your home run pick of the day. Went through the rules for the ongoing home run picks contest. 1st to 5 wins. Leaderboard right now, the leader is at 3. Somebody's at 2. 2 other people are at 1. Nobody else has 1 yet. So we've got a little time. You can jump in now and still win this contest. 1st to 5 wins. So leave that as a comment after the video. Like and subscribe on the old YouTubes here. And away we go. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. I'm assuming these are not yet the newly confirmed Braves and Giants lineups. These are coming down because of the earlier game confirmations. So I'm just going to take these out for now. And I'll have to do that every time I hit the lineup button. And I shouldn't go all the way back to the Mets game. There we go. All right, so mystery pitcher going for the Blue Jays right now. Max Scherzer, if you weren't here 50 seconds ago, just scratched. Would have been a great target. We'll see what they do on the mound. But I do think the Red Sox are still going to be a talking point, right? They're not going to roll out, vintage Nolan Ryan here and zip through the Red Sox. So that 5 total, maybe it comes down a quarter of a run depending on what they do. It goes up the other way. Very playable Red Sox bats. A little bit of power will probably still be on the board for the obvious guys. That might be a spot where you see, maybe Jarren Duran's number comes down a little bit. Home run pick of the day, by the way. Maybe Willie Abreu slips below the magic number there slightly, but it's all going to depend on what Toronto does on the mound. This is the confirmed version of the Red Sox lineup. We'll see if it changes if they throw a lefty up there, let's say. I would doubt it at this point, though. Those are their regular lefties in the lineup. They might reconfigure it, but switch hitter and a righty in the first 2 spots, I think this is probably what we end up seeing. Going for the Red Sox, 6,600, 6,800 for Jake Bennett. Again, nothing strikeout rate over his first 3 starts, his 15 1/3. He's pitched to a 5.28 ERA, has a 4.48 xFIP underneath that. Pitching to a 10.1 degree average launch angle, so he's reasonably kept the ball down so far. He's allowed 1 home run so far in the 3 starts, the 15 1/3. But what I'm intrigued by is it was for this year so far. It's was it this year? Yeah, that must have been a this year number. It was regardless. It was his minor league average launch in the most recent sample, which I believe was earlier this year. I'm not looking at it anymore because I had to call up stupid Carson Wisenhunt. It was like a 2 degree average launch. So demonstrably good at keeping the ball down. Like 55% ground ball rate. Yeah, that was this year. 9 starts, 39 1/3. Had pitched to a 1.60 ERA with a 3.54 xFIP under the surface. Had allowed 2 home runs to 157 AAA hitters over 39 1/3 in those 9 starts. So there's quality there. 41 Ks in 39 1/3 down in the farm too. So 26.1% strikeout against 5.7% walk in that sample. That puts him at a 20.4 strikeout minus walk. I'm not saying he's an ace, but that's a nice little indicator. That's the highest he's been in the last couple of years in his run up. Last year from low A through double A, he worked to a 21.5% strikeout, 6.4% walk. That was over 18 starts, 75 1/3 innings. Had a 2.27 ERA with a 3.41 xFIP. So again, reasonably talented kid. Ability to keep the ball down, which is impacting the power for the Blue Jays that are already not the most power-hitting team in the world. I think he's usable. I don't think he's safe. I don't think he's a ceiling play. But at 66, that's an SP2 dart that you can throw on a day where a lot of the SP2s are likely to go sideways and you're avoiding the Assad ownership. That would be the angle for wanting to have any Jake Bennett in your life. The Blue Jays bats at a 4.58 implied total, even if they're not homering, can obviously be incredibly pesky, as we've talked about, against much, much more proven, better pitchers. If you're thinking lefties too, Chris Sale was the prime example of that. They hung 3 3 runs on him and just bent his day at price, but had 10 hits that day and were just, pesky enough to ruin a Chris Sale day. That doesn't necessarily apply with Jake Bennett coming in at this price in the same way, but it at least demonstrates that they can get to anybody, and this kid is certainly less than Chris Sale. So George Springer, Ernie Clement, Vladdy Guerrero, certainly, there are playable options here. Vladdy's lost most of his power, but he's down to 4,400, 3,100. Still slashing 276, 366, 360 with a 351 xWOB under his 324 actual, 105 WRC plus. It's not like he's bad. It's just that he's not hitting for power. The average is maybe lower than people might want. Strikes out 10% of the time, walks 11+% of the time. I mean, outrageously good. And just look at this combination up here among these Blue Jays bats. Ernie Clement doesn't really draw that much walk, but he doesn't strike out. So he's constantly putting the ball in play. Everybody else is low strikeout to extremely low strikeout for their quality and double-digit walks. That's what I'm talking about when I say this team is pesky. Very difficult to get outs through that first stretch of hitters, regardless of who you are on the mound. Springer's price is way, way down at 36.28. 7 home runs, 4 stolen bases, pulling the slash line together slowly but surely. The barrel rates come up slightly. It's still half of what it was last year, but it's at least approaching his struggling year in 2024, where he was in 2023. We know that he can put together strong stretches, right-handed bat against an inexperienced lefty, and another player who doesn't necessarily need to go deep with the ball to pay off some DFS value. So at those prices, definitely could get some George Springer in your lineups. Clement is more a slap hitter, situational hitter, 299, 318, 452 start to his season, though. You can see the overperformance right there, though. Massive difference between that weighted on base and the xWOBA. Alejandro Kirk is another very low strikeout. He was one of those 4 guys. Hits the ball pretty squarely, too. Only 35 plate appearances on the season, but he's already got a home run on the board. What we like about Kirk is this kind of premium contact with that kind of frequency of contact. Or he's drawing a walk and getting to first base. Really interesting catcher at 3,300 where you need the position. 29, he's very playable in lineups with or without Vladdy on FanDuel. You want Vladdy most of the time. Kaz Akamoto leading the team with a 14.5% barrel rate, leading the team with a 49.7% hard hit. 15 home runs on the board, by far the team leader. 233, 316, 444 overall. Some struggles as far as consistency, as far as doing anything but hitting for power. Also striking out a lot at 32.3%, but it is offset a little bit by that 10% walk rate. That's keeping him afloat with that 316 on base. We'd be looking at some uglier numbers if he wasn't drawing at least some walks like that. Not a reliable hitter right now, but a guy with very clear-cut power. Since we're not necessarily fishing for home runs, though, that might ding the quality a little bit more than might be just naturally visible on Kaz Akamoto today. Brendan Valenzuela, 34-27, had a good stretch here, 149 very good plate appearances, 7 homers, solid 338 on base, a 121 WRC plus, technically underperforming by 2/100ths of a point of WOBA. Not bad. Charles McAdoo is an interesting player based on some of the minor league numbers, based on the cheap prices at key infield spots. Definitely a guy we can get to there for, just a couple base hits, a little bit of speed, maybe some correlated scoring upside. Davis Schneider against the lefties always in play. He can drive the ball pretty effectively. Again, we're a little bit more limited than we might normally be potentially for what this kid can do as far as limiting home run upside. But Davis Schneider at the min price is very playable at second base or in the outfield. Same deal on 2,200 on FanDuel. Miles Straw, more of a slap hitter, but that's the kind of bat we're looking for from this Blue Jays lineup today. So a couple singles, maybe, he's another very low strikeout. He's typically lower walk rate. Right now he's at 9.4% against the 15% strikeout rate. But if you think about him being down here, the second, third times through the lineup, that just adds a 5th guy to that stretch of just very difficult to strike out guys. So you're just getting a ton of balls in play there. So Straw can pay you off from that. He might steal a base, might wrap back around up here. He's not an ideal wraparound guy. The on base is only 310, even with the uptick in walks, but he's playable from the bottom, more so maybe than he might otherwise be in a lot of days. Red Sox, again, we'll see what happens when we get the new pitcher announcement. Let me see. Let me pull chat back up. Anybody tell me? Braden Fisher, opener, Chad Dallas follower. Or... All right, you know what? Let me... Meanwhile, I'm getting nothing but spam calls lately. Anybody had a massive uptick in their spam calls over the last, 3 weeks? I don't know what it is, but my phone has been blowing up. And it's this, the moment you pick up, it's already halfway through the announcement. It's like, if you act now, you'll be able to get your mortgage approved. And my mortgage on my rented apartment. Right. Where are we going? Blue Jays, bullpen. Why is this in no discernible order? There they are. Miles threw 38 pitches on Sunday. So you're probably not going to see him in bulk relief. You might see him for an inning or two, but I don't think it's going to be full bulk relief there. Fisher threw 24 pitches on Sunday, so that would lead me to believe that's purely an inning of opening. Is Dallas on the roster right now? Bear with it, gang. We're just trying to piece together who might be taking the mound here. I don't think Dallas is on the roster. Oh, you know who it's probably going to be is Simeon Woods Richardson. I bet you that's who it is. He hasn't pitched recently. Still on the roster per Fangraphs. Let me double check. That's almost as good a target as Max Scherzer would have been. Is he still on the roster? I think that's who it's going to be. Oh, Simeon's a AAA? They've got him on the roster on Fangraphs. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Well, we'll clean it up when we get some announcements. Like I said before, there's nothing coming out of that Blue Jays bullpen that would scare you. So we're not worried about it. Fire away with Red Sox bats. I wouldn't expect that 5-run total to really budge all that much in this ballpark. So should be plenty of upside for the Red Sox. This is the confirmed version of the lineup right now. We'll see if it changes. But what I love about this Sox team right now, is look at all this multi-position on FanDuel. It's a lot of crossover to the same position, and you don't necessarily want like IKF and Andrew Monasterio, but they're usable. They're clickable guys who from time to time can find some success for correlated scoring with a single, but they're cheap. It makes so much flexibility to put together a full 4-man with this squad while getting some of their better bats in there too, and putting it together with basically any other team that you want to because of how much you can move these guys around. So really, really affords you some great lineup building possibilities with these Red Sox on FanDuel. A lot less so on the DK slate. You only get 2 multi-position guys, second and short, and they're the 2 guys I just said you don't really want. So that kind of sucks, but still a go-to stack for today. Excuse me. Go-to stack for today. Not going to change the home run pick. It was Jarren Duran. He was pulling a 6.60 against Max. You can see Willier is a little bit above that. They both look pretty good in Fangraphs game sims, as did Wilson Contreras with his 9.45. What we need from this team is a little bit of on-base out of Mickey Gasper and Sedan Rafaela to set the table up at the top. Both guys have been okay in that department, 323, 342 respectively in their mixed samples so far this season. Gasper only an 82 WRC plus, some concerning numbers in the weighted on base department, getting some shots up here in the leadoff role. I don't necessarily know if he's actually got the skill set for holding that down in the long term, but right now looks like a great piece because that's where they've got him. 32 catcher on DraftKings totally works. You get bonus plate appearances at the catcher spot potentially for a very cheap price if you go in that direction on DK. So that's a very good catcher one-off to keep in mind, just because he's leading off at that cheap price. Rafaela, we've talked about a lot, been very good. We've seen strong stretches like this, and then this diminishes, that diminishes a little bit, but the counting stats typically finish up fairly strong. Probably ends the year under a 100 WRC plus, even though he's 17 points above average right now. You can see a little bit of that in the 299 xWOBA against that 350 actual. So at some point, he will start his descent statistically, but right now, still very affordable. Outfield only on DK, multi-position on FanDuel, definitely a key piece. And, the highlights for the multi-positionality, by the way, are those two guys, and then maybe Marcelo Mayer down at the bottom. But the fact you can put either one of those guys at multiple positions definitely pays off. Willier, 38, way too cheap on DK. 31, honestly, is a little bit cheap for when he was facing Max Scherzer. It's going to be cheap for whoever comes out of the bullpen here. Love the upside for Willier, 11.3% barrel, 42.3% hard hit on the season. It's only resulted in 8 home runs, but we know he can go on a tear. He's also just been better across the board this year. A lot of growth year over year. 24% strikeouts down to 19.8 so far this season. He was 28% 2 years ago. Barrels are slightly down, but only a point. Same with hard hit, only 2 points. And he's gained average. He's gained on base. He's seeing more lefties this season. So really interesting hitter. Contreras, like I mentioned, 4,100, 3,400, differently priced across sides. Much more expensive on the FanDuel board. That's a great piece on DK. Barreling the ball like crazy. A lot of hard hits. 16 home runs on the season already. 299, 392, 560 slash. Yes, please. Yoshida for 28-23. Your last non-mix and match guy down there. Solid line drives bat. Right now, 245, 329, 331, just a 301 Woba with a 307 X. Not a lot to write home about under the surface there. Last year, a little bit better, 314 X Woba under a 302 actual, 266, 307, 388. Nothing overly impressive in those 205 plate appearances. In 421 chances, he was pretty good back in 2024. Mostly full season of, long stretches of health. 280, 349, 415, 10 homers, created runs 15% better than average. That's a good player. Not a great bat, but he's not priced anywhere near a great bat. 28, 23 totally works if he's at all the guy that he was in 2024. IKF slap hitter, Andrew Monasterio, mix and match type talent, and then Marcelo Mayer is maybe interesting from the bottom spot. Like I was saying, the multi-position helps. Don't love the shortstop only on DK, but 2,600, you can make up some ground with a different bat at a different position given the salary savings versus a lot of other shortstops. Mayer hasn't been good over 204 chances basically at all this season, 63 WRC plus, atrocious weighted on base and xWOBA, hasn't made good contact. But last year, 9.2% barrel, 51.7% hard hit. It wasn't a huge sample. It was 136 plate appearances, but that was a lot of premium contact. 4 home runs, a pretty poor slash line, and 80 WRC plus. And again, just totally tanking in the weighted on base departments. That comes with a 30.1% strikeout rate against a 5.9% walk rate. So far this year, he's dramatically cleaned up the strikeouts. He's at 18.1. So you don't really have that ongoing problem. I would expect a little rise overall from Marcelo Mayer as the season goes along. He's better than he's been and very, very playable for what we're doing here. Red Sox bats, Blue Jays bats. I don't think we need anything from the Blue Jays mound. Maybe some shares of Jake Bennett as a just bargain baby at 66 on DK. Wouldn't play Bennett on FanDuel. I don't think there's enough there. I mean, you could play a few shares just because of how offset cheap he is, but don't have high expectations for a quality start. You'd be looking to book the win and have a bunch of other people fail. It is Dallas. All right, Chad Dallas back up. All right, so it looks like it will be Chad Dallas. Not probably as vulnerable as Max Scherzer was looking there, but certainly not a blow him away pitcher by any means. So looking like a target. I don't think much changes about what we just said about the Red Sox bats. All sorts of weird things going on. Somebody just screamed out in the hallway again. Hope it was one of the kids. I mean, not hoping that a child was just murdered in the hallway. I hope it was one of the kids enjoying their afternoon and having fun like kids do and screaming for random reasons. 369 implied total for the Chicago White Sox coming into the Bronx. Facing Carlos Rodon, 87, 10,000 differently priced for Rodon across sites. Asset on either slate. Very, very usable, but you can see some of the trouble. That 14.7% walk rate right now is pretty glaring over his 6 starts, 31 innings as he rounds back into form. 11.6 strikeout minus walk. He's quite a bit better than that. 26.4% strikeout is probably around where we are going through this season. He's got an 11.2% swinging strike rate. We've seen him be better for strikeout, but that's a healthy enough spot. 3.19 or healthy enough rate. 3.19 ERA, but some of the flaws showing in the 4.27 xFIP, the 4.49 SIERA. Again, a guy who can be vulnerable from time to time. This White Sox team has some lefty power. They've got a couple interesting righties in the lineup to throw at Rodon here. So I think the mix of a very good lefty bat in Colson Montgomery, who, if you do chase Rodon, gains upside as the game goes along to poke one into the right field seats, and then some of the interesting righties around him. Chase Meadross, more of a contact-oriented on-base type infield option, but he's getting on at a 346 clip, setting the table quite nicely when he's leading off. He and Sam Antonacci have bounced in and out of that leadoff spot, depending on who's on the mound. Antonacci hitting ninth today. Not somebody to completely write off. Overall, 279, 381, 380 to bookend the lineup. 120 WRC plus out of him. Those are two very interesting young players in terms of correlated scoring for very fair prices when you go to this White Sox team. Key bats in between. Randall Grichuk at just 3,600, 2,400. I don't really understand why he's quite so cheap. Not a full-time player, but getting the weak side platoon at bats anytime there's a lefty on the mound, and he has mashed lefties for his entire career. He's also got 6 home runs just in general this season in 95 plate appearances. He's a former 20 home run guy, carrying a 360 weighted on base and a 384 xWOBA over those 95 chances. I don't think he's quite that good. But Randall Grichuk is a proven major league hitter over his overall long career. 13.2% barrel, 44.1% hard hit. Not at all uncharacteristic of who Randall Grichuk's been. That's just a really good piece, hitting second against a lefty in Yankee Stadium. Don't really get it. Fire away with Randall Grichuk if you're going to the White Sox. That is a key piece, and honestly, him being that cheap is kind of a draw to the White Sox. Miguel Vargas has been very good. 5,000, 3,700. He's at 16 homers, stolen 10 bags, getting on at a 367 clip. A lot better this season than I thought he was going to be. 13.6% barrel rate. He's finding premium contact like crazy. Another good righty bat to throw at a lefty. He's got a 397 xWOB under his 373 actuals, technically underperforming by 24 points. Crazy. 137 WRC plus. What's Monty done against lefties this season? And since coming up last year, I guess I should say. 5 of the 17 home runs come against lefties. Technically, slashing better against lefties. It's pretty poor against either. And same-handed pitching, 229, 316, 514, 831 OPS, 286 ISO, 129 WRC plus. It's been tremendous against same-hand. That's over only 79 plate appearances, but it's very good. Against righties in 205 chances, 218, 317, 464, 246 ISO still, 113 WRC plus, a dozen home runs. He's been very good there. Last season, in his initial stint, 17 of the 21 home runs came in 201 plate appearances against righties. 4 of them came in the 83 plate appearances against lefties. Slightly better last year against right-handed, actually significantly better. 242, 325, 67, had a ridiculous 326 ISO with all that crazy power that was on display in that small sample last year. In the 80 whatever plate appearances against same-handed pitching, slipped to 234, 289, 442. Still had a 208 ISO, still was at 101 WRC plus, and obviously has cleaned up some of that in a still small sample this year. So no reason really to ding Montgomery all that much for there being a lefty on the mound. Not a bad option where people might actually go around that. 4,400, 3,400 across sites. Totally affordable. Premium shortstop. Really interesting bat who is the home run pick from the White Sox today. Everson Pereira. Former Yankees farmhand. 3,100, 2,900. He's hit 3 home runs in 74 plate appearances this year. Creating runs just at a 100 WRC plus in the small sample. 10.9% barrel, 43.5% hard hit from the right side. It's an interesting enough hitter to throw into the mix for a cheap price. Still only 25. Limited action in the show so far. 250 major league plate appearances. He's hit 5 home runs in the show. Slash line is completely ugly overall. 173, 248, 280. Has never found consistency. But this kid has talent. 348 minor league plate appearances last year for the Yankees before he was shipped out of town. 21 home runs, 9 stolen bases as a 24-year-old. It's not crazy old for being in AAA. 256, 359, 508, 128 WRC plus. Had an outstanding 382 weighted on base and 353 xWOB under the surface. Was very similar to the year before in across the 182 plate appearances in the Yankees system. A couple in the Rays system, and I guess the Yankees got him back, or was that... Did he go from the Yankees to the Rays last year? I guess that makes sense. Yeah, and then played in the show for the Rays last year. Hit 2 home runs, stole 2 bases in the show for the Rays last year. 138, 219, 246 with a 30 WRC plus over those 73 chances. So obviously some diminishment in the output on promotion. Year before, though, in 343 plate appearances in 2023, 18 homers, 11 steals, mostly at half and half, AA, AAA with the Yankee system. So he's a good multi-category contributor with a little bit of pop in the bat. That's not uninteresting for 31, for 29 if you're going to this White Sox squad. Edgar Caro at 25-24, mix and match quality catcher, pretty poor slash line over 155 plate appearances. Nothing really to discuss there. Probably more talent than that slash line might indicate. A solid mixer for a very cheap price if you're already going White Sox on DK at the catcher spot. Not a reason to consider them. Not a guy to really one-off all that frequently. Braden Montgomery, good player, up-and-comer. 24 plate appearances in the show so far. Hit that walk-off home run. Hasn't done all that much else, but found some interesting premium contact in just a handful of batted ball events. 11.8% barrels, 47.1% hard hits. Again, you're talking about probably 5 batted ball events, but they're there. Luis Angel and Antonacci, playable pieces at the bottom. Luis Angel's really just there to steal bases. He's low strikeout, medium walk rate, though, so you're getting balls in play, little happenstance around it. Not somebody to completely write off because he's very, very cheap. I don't like him at shortstop, though, on DraftKings. I think second base, maybe an outfield share here and there is the limitations of his use on FanDuel. And then Antonacci's just good and very affordable. Yanks went off last night. Even with their diminished version of the lineup, 491 implied total against Anthony Kay, who's pitched to a 17% strikeout rate against a 9% walk, who's allowing a 9.6% barrel, 3.32% home runs, probably a little lucky to be there. Not an extreme fly ball pitcher, but a lot of hard hit there. He's just under our emergency threshold of exit velo. There's enough there that can feed the beast for some Yankees power today. You've got 2 guys in the lineup above the magic number, another couple guys hovering around it. So plenty of playability for the Yanks. 4,400, 3,300 for Paul Goldschmidt against basically any lefty, and certainly against Anthony Kay. Leading off looks pretty tremendous. Price hasn't caught up to the performance. 180 very, very good plate appearances out of Goldie this year. 10 home runs, 298, 367, 547. Just getting everyday plate appearances while they're missing pieces. Sucks that you still have the positional conflict with Ben Rice on DK. You don't have that issue on FanDuel, of course. You've actually got some multi-positional eligibility on FanDuel to work with as well. You get Ahmed Rosario, who's been excellent against left-handed pitching so far this season. He plays 3 positions for 2,700 on the blue site. Second and third, ideal at 3,700 on DraftKings. Don't sleep on the Rosario shares. We've succeeded with that for DFS purposes this season. So definitely a go-to piece. 6 home runs, 252, 292, 476. Obviously not at all consistent as far as the on-base skills. When he sees multiple starts in a row, you start to see the cracks. When he just gets into a game a week against the lefty, you can see the upside. Definitely can use him. 107 WRC plus. Ben Rice launched his 20th home run of the season in fewer than 300 plate appearances. Hopefully on his way to 40 plus. Monster season so far from Ben Rice. Knock on wood, he stays healthy out there because we need him right now. 292, 389, 617. Kids outrageous. 425 weighted on base. You can see that is some overperformance. 379 XWOBA, but even if he was just at that number, he would still be the best bat on this team right now. Cody Bellinger, 5,000, 3,500. Nice and affordable. 10 home runs, 8 stolen bases. Just excellent for whatever reason in this ballpark. Lefty bat obviously helps a little bit, but just very, very good for these Yankees, especially when they're playing in this ballpark, whatever it is. Nothing we can quantify, nothing we really want to actually inject into process here, but it has happened. Just an elite level bat for a fair price. Jason Dominguez at 5,000, 2,700, the worst defensive outfielder you'll ever see. 211, 268, 447, not really making up for it at the plate so far. 2 home runs and 41 plate appearances is pretty good. It's a limited sample. He does have a 237 ISO. Solid, but not spectacular, 43.8% hard hit rate, and he's yet to barrel a ball in that limited sample, but he's good for barrels. He's good for power. I don't think he's really going to regain that guy that he once was over that, however many, it was like this stretch, right? 2023. Let's go back in time. Nope, it wasn't that stretch. Was it even further back that he hit all those home runs? How the hell long ago was that? Oh, it was that season. I was just thinking of a slightly bigger number. I was thinking it was like 10, but it was 4 home runs and 33 plate appearances. And it was that 2023 season. That's what I was thinking of. That was age 20 when he first got called up. He's been injured and just, up and down and hurt and off the field too much. So needs to put it all together and just play consistently. He's still only 23. There's a lot of time for Jason Dominguez to find tons and tons of success. So it's not even really fair for me to say that I don't think we see like an outrageous home run pace when we're talking about 4 home runs over 33 plate appearances. Remembered it a little bit differently from a couple years ago. Like I said, I thought it was like 10 in like 100 chances. So a little bit lighter. Playable piece though in your outfield, very fairly priced across sites for switch hitter with a little bit of pop in the bat. Jazz Chisholm at 45-31, plenty of upside at second base from Jazzy. 9 home runs, 20 stolen bases, good for DFS purposes at a minimum. And we know he's better than he is major leagues wise. Jose Caballero, 33-29, multi-position on both sides. Prefer him in the outfield on DK, second base, third base, or outfield on FanDuel, honestly. 7 home runs, 15 steals. The power output's not really who Caballero is. You can see that in the premium contact numbers. But on base, correlated scoring, stolen base bonuses, always in play with that player. Anthony Volpe just pretty much sucks. Every now and then he runs into one. Every now and then he'll steal you a base. Not at all reliable. Don't really like the player. 36-3,000. Not my idea of the high-quality shortstop, even for DFS. Playable if you're just filling out Yankee stacks, but that's really the only reason I would get to Anthony Volpe shares. Ali Sanchez, 2,300 across sites. More of a catcher than he is a bat. Carlos Rodon, because I think we need him. Yankees bats, White Sox bats, Anthony K. I didn't mean to totally undersell because he has been pitching somewhat okay in spots. There's not much to really like through here, but there is an angle through which K could limit the Yankees a little bit. We see the Yankees oddly struggle against medium grade pitchers all the time. Don't get knocked out of your chair if Anthony K has an okay day for the money, but not a go-to DFS option. You can see one of the more low projected pitchers on the slate. This game's not available on FanDuel. Actually, I don't think it's even a showdown or anything on FanDuel. Second game of the doubleheader should be Carson Wisenhunt against J.R. Ritchie, unless something about that changed. No, Meech, I did not find the keys. They're just vanished. I dropped them into a black hole and they were crushed into their subatomic parts. They're still talking about Kyle Stowers on my group text. But yeah, keys are just gone. I gotta get before I head out next. I gotta get a new copy for the front door. I'm gonna bang on my neighbors across the way and borrow somebody's key. Haven't gotten around to that yet. Wisenhunt, 6,400 on DK. I do expect this is a full start. He's been making regular starts. This is his regular day in the rotation in AAA. Last pitched on the 12th. Completed the 6th 4 times throughout the season. Pitched into the 7th once, so completely fully stretched out. He was working to a 3.65 ERA. Again, 77 strikeouts in 69 innings down on the farm over 13 starts. Kid's been pretty good. Last season, 5 starts, cup of coffee, 5.01 ERA, 5.48 xFIP, 5.46 Sierra. Didn't really find the strikeout. Walked too many. Gave up way too much premium contact, which led to 5.88% home runs for that limited number of hitters he faced. Wasn't good at all in his debut few performances, but still a young lefty figuring things out. Not even 26 yet. Think we can give him time based on some of the minor league track record. Last year had a 5.17 ERA, but a 4.58 xFIP. Struck out. Oops. Mouse died. Man, we are all over the place today. Struck out 28.4% of minor league hitters last year against an 11.3% walk rate. So walks elevated a little bit. Wow. Am I slow? Am I like, are my words being all broken up? Is my connection slow right now? Because like everything on my end is working slow, in addition to all the other chaos today. Weird day. That's what I was looking to confirm. All right, there we go. Okay. That fine? All right, cool. Appreciate it, guys. It's just the pages aren't loading when I pull up tabs. It's weird. The point I was going to make is Wiz and Hunt, you do also give a little bit of leeway on that 5+ ERA in that good sample in the minor leagues because that's a PCL team. They play in Sutter, to put it in perspective, right? That where the A's are playing, that's their home park for that AAA Giants team. So got to keep that in perspective when we're talking PCL for minor league pitchers. By all accounts, talented enough kid. If he goes 5 for 6,400, maybe he has an okay day, but you're going to run into some power downside. Some of this is short sample. Like I said, I had to put my thumb on the scale because of that 5+% home run in the cup of coffee in the small sample last year. But I believe in these Braves and their power. So depending on what's in the Braves lineup, dramatically lean in that direction. This is the projected version. We don't have, as far as I know, the confirmed version yet. Let me double check. Doesn't look like. So second game of a doubleheader always gets wonky. Going in this direction, J.R. Ritchie at 6,800. Over 5 starts, 30 2/3 in the show so far this year, 19.7% strikeout against a 13.6% walk. Has an okay 3.82 ERA, but a visibly worse xFIP and Sierra by about a full run. Not a lot of meat on the bone so far from J.R. Ritchie. He's only about to turn 23, though. This is yet another just kind of early call-up for the Braves just for lack of options. This seems to happen to them each of the last few years, where they're just cycling through young pitchers. They did it to Dieter Fuentes as a 19-year-old last year. So at least this kid's more on track. He's had some development time through the minors. He made 11 AAA starts in 2025, had a 3.02 ERA, a 4.32 xFIP, found some strikeout. This season, 8 starts at AAA, 39 1/3, 2.75 ERA, 4.85 xFIP, though. Lost a little bit of strikeout year over year at the AAA level, 25-1 down to 22.4. Comes with some walk damage, too, at the minor league level. So everything you're seeing over here is pretty realistic, except maybe he finds some more Ks once he gets it all figured out on the mound. Giants could give some of that upside to him in terms of the strikeout. You know, that 19.4% average is slightly offset by the 4.2 and the 9.5 in there. In between those guys, you've got plenty of strikeout. The rest of the 7 hitters, that's 22.9, slightly above average, right around the average. So there are Ks available for Ritchie. We get 5 innings of okay work against one of the lower end offenses in baseball. You can see the pieces add up. Last time out against the Mets, probably a pretty comparable offense these days. Faced 18 Mets, 2 hits allowed, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, no runs. Pretty decent start in Queens. 5-run day on 5 hits against Miami at Miami. That should have been a better game. 4 1/3 of 1-run ball, though, against the Cubs. Pretty decent outing. 4 strikeouts, 3 walks is obviously not great. And he didn't last very long in that game, only faced 18 hitters. That was back on May 13th. May 4th, 3 earned runs to Seattle. He's been okay. I think he's slightly usable at 68 as an SP2. Not a go-to piece, though. Giants bats against, depending again on who's in the lineup. Luis Ledez, Jung-Hoo Lee, 2 premium bats for batting average, putting balls in play, beating him to first base, correlated scoring. From either spot in the lineup, you can use those guys across different positions. Getting both of those guys into any given lineup is a little bit substandard because that's really all they do. They hit for average. You know, that obviously does lead to the occasional RBI, leads to run scoring, and so on and so forth. So it's okay. But you're looking to get another big scoring event bat in there, I think, as your next man. So if you go Arraez down through these 3, I don't think you go directly into Jung-Hoo Lee, and it's an easy one to bypass and get Willie, get Casey Schmidt for more money. There's usable options below him. Same thing if you went in this direction, then maybe you just go right there to Willie. I don't think you want both Arraez and Lee in the lineup. Bryce Eldridge at 3,100, cheap. They have not noticed his performance over 123 plate appearances. 5 home runs on the board, 324, 415, 552, a 170 WRC plus, 12.3% barrel, 56.8% hard hit, carrying a 416 Woba with a 404X. Kid's been tremendous. And this is just, it's better than he's going to be in the long term as far as what that slash line will look like. But this is him delivering a very good stretch of the talent as advertised, if that makes sense. So fire away at first base with Bryce Eldridge. That's a great piece. Sucks that you get conflict there with Rafi Devers at first base. You got to make a choice. Right now, Eldridge has been significantly better than Devers, but we've got a long career of Rafi Devers to say that he's still outstanding. Lot is still here to like about Devers. The premium contact, while down for him, as I've illustrated a few times recently, is still very good. Strikeouts are up somewhat. Walks are down significantly. It's led to a poor slash line for him. Well, for anybody. But the talent is still there. Devers is going to get this figured out. He's going up against a very inexperienced right-handed pitcher without a ton of strikeout upside right now. If nothing else, Rafi Devers could go out there and draw 3 walks against this kid and find some correlated scoring, and he's priced for that at 3,900. So don't take him off your board unless you're putting Bryce Eldridge into that spot. Lee, as mentioned, 34, totally works for an average hitter. I keep going back to that idea of not wanting both him and Arias. I want to unwind that a little bit. I think it's too strong to say you don't want it. It's better to say that's not your ideal configuration of this team, right? Because you've got a couple more interesting bats. 3,500 for Willy Adames at shortstop. 9% barrel, 43.2% hard hit. Again, lower numbers for him. Actually, the hard hit rate is slightly up, but the barrels are significantly down. The output has been way down from him at peak form. But we saw this last year. We saw Willie have a really bad first half, and then surge over the second half. He's up to 11 home runs, only a 300 WOBA, 292 xWOBA is even worse under the surface, 91 WRC plus. It's been utterly atrocious this year. But this is a player we've seen just throw the switch, and suddenly he's better. And the power of the contact is still at least sort of there. Again, going up against J.R. Ritchie, there's upside. Casey Schmidt at 45, priced up a little bit for the success so far. 15 home runs, wildly uncharacteristic output for him. 12.1% barrel rate so far on the season, but only a 41.3% hard hit. He's been just okay in the other categories. 279, 310, 512, needs to be on base a little bit more consistently. Does have a great 353 WOBA and a 344 xWOBA, though. Not going to take anything away from him. And he's the only even semi-expensive player on that team. Drew Gilbert, Daniel Susac, mix and match guys down the bottom of the lineup. On the Braves side, you have presumably Mauricio Dubon leading off again in the absence of Ronnie Acuna with a lefty on the mound. He's been okay, but he's more a utility guy. Shortstop, not ideal. Outfield, probably where you want him for your 3,000 if you're spending that money. And then you run into 3 not crazy expensive prices, but more expensive, 5,000, 4,400. I was actually deceived a little bit by the conditional formatting there. Those are fine. 5,000 for Drake Baldwin is perfectly fine. One of the top catchers, probably the best catcher on this slate. We'll see if he plays. Did he play the early game? Probably ends up in the lineup either way. Well, I'm not going to bother with it. Just confirm that as we get there. I'll confirm it as the lineup comes out. Baldwin, tremendous option. 307, 392, 561, 14 home runs, including last night into today. Ozzy Albies at 4,400, usable piece. I continue to believe that Ozzy is dramatically overperforming who he is right now, but we've seen him get away with that time and again over the years. So definitely usable and not a bad price at second base. Matt Olson at 49. Love the upside for a home run, even against the lefty. 11.74 in the model. 20 on the season so far. Absolute masher of baseballs. Austin Riley has come down pretty significantly over the last few years. He's also come down in price. Only 39 at third base works. 10.2% barrel is really the only thing we can hang anything on here. 8 home runs, pretty diminished slash line. He's just gotten worse and worse over the last 3 years progressively. Really needs to throw the switch anytime now and turn the talent back on. Hopefully he can do it. Michael Harris is inexplicably 4,200. He's slashing 306, 345, 14. I think that price has come down since I was ranting about it the other day. 14 home runs on the board in 259 plate appearances. Absurd levels of premium contact. He's way, way better than that price tag. Take advantage even against the lefty. Eli White, Ha-Seong Kim, Sandy Leon, depending on who's in the lineup, those are all mix and match pieces down bottom. Ha-Seong Kim has been quite a bit better in stretches in years past than this terrible 62 plate appearances. So if he's in there, you can throw him into the mix, but don't love him considering the current level of play at shortstop. That would be the only stopping point there, and the $2,100 price tag probably offsets any concerns. Braves bats, Giants bats. I guess Richie over Wisenhunt, but it's pretty close, and neither one looks all that great. Hit the like button, gang. Subscribe to the channel. Let me hit the lineups button now that we're past that game, and it won't impact those lineups because those will come down again with the confirmed ones from earlier. Oh, that's how I can check who was in the lineups earlier. Rockies, Jays, White Sox, Yanks came in. Yeah, those are still not there. And looks like these ones aren't here either. So Gavin Williams going to be a pretty popular guy tonight, even going up against a really good Brewer squad that has a ton of run creation ability, ton of on-base ability. He's just been very good by and large this season. 3.32 ERA, 3.16 xFIP underneath it. Sparkling numbers. 28.7% strikeouts. 8.1% walk is a little bit higher than you'd want it, but it's perfectly fine with those numbers together. 20.58 strikeout minus walk. So ace level, 13.5% swinging strike rate. What I would throw into the mix for a point of concern, though, is Gav, good as he's been, way over the line for barrels, 12.5%, 2.5 points over our emergency threshold. 47.2% hard hits, 91.1 on the exit velo average. Very concerning levels of premium contact there. The reason he can get away with it is right now keeping hitters to a 9.7 degree average launch. So you're getting a lot of low trajectory events, you're getting a lot of ground balls. But when he misses, he's missed badly, and it's led to big mistakes, big loud ones. So that's where the 12.5% barrel works kind of against him in the other direction. The confluence of proper launch angle and hard hit and exit velo is what adds up to the barrel. So you can see an elevated barrel rate, 3.77% home runs, probably a little lucky to be sub 4.5. Looks like about the correct number given that kind of contact. But he's gotten away with it. Nothing to say that he's going to cough up 2 or 3 home runs in this game by any means. The Brewers, a lighter home run hitting team by and large, but some good home run bats in that lineup. He gave up 2 long balls in each of the 2 games against the Yankees in his 2 most recent starts. Had not allowed a home run for 2 straight starts prior to that, though. 7 innings against the Nats, 4 strikeout, 2 walk, only 1 earned run on 3 hits. 8 spectacular innings at Philadelphia. 5 hits allowed, but struck out 11, walked 0, no runs. Pretty tremendous outing. Start before that, he allowed a home run, 2 runs overall on 8 hits over 6 innings to the Reds, struck out 7, walked 0, solid start. And then ran into trouble 2 5-run games. Only allowed a home run in one of them. That was against the Royals, a pair of home runs. This is going all the way back to the beginning of May, by the way. And then a 2 home run day on a 6-run day against the Blue Jays. So those are the weird blips where he just isn't quite sharp enough, making some mistakes, leaving some hangers, and they get into the seats pretty effectively. The combination of that, this team's ability to draw the walk, not that he's bad for walks, but this could get inflated a little bit against some aggressively patient hitters. There's a whirlpool in there where Gav gets sucked in and dragged down to the bottom of the ocean by this pretty quality Brewer squad. So no guarantees on Gavin Williams, but looking like the class of the slate at 93. 11,000 is where you get really dangerous on FanDuel because 3 runs going to bend that day, 4 runs probably going to break that day. And the Brewers more than capable. They're implied for 4 runs. Not all of it against Gav, obviously. Going the other direction, Brandon Sproat, been problematic. 21.8% strikeout, 11.5% walks, 5.70 ERA. Offset a little bit by that 4.52 xFIP, but running a quarter better, 4.48 SIERA, same thing. But even those numbers would be targetable with some, Guardians bats that are low strikeout at the top of the lineup, put the ball in play, and then go through some high strikeout power bats that can draw a walk. There's a lot of things working against Brandon Sproat, even without Jose Ramirez in that Guardians lineup. Obviously, we wish we had him. I think they would be a really interesting go-to value squad if Ramirez was healthy. There's enough to work with here. Starting at the top with Travis Bazzana is a great option. 3,800, 3,200, 4 home runs, 11 steals, and 178 chances, getting on at a 343 clip, so a reasonable piece in the leadoff role, drawing an 11.8% walk, sub 20% strikeout. He's been very, very good. I would say that there's a little bit of concern in the 308 xWOBA under the 329 actual that reflects a little bit of the lack of premium contact, but we like his upside in an ongoing sense to find better batted ball events. It's kind of the nature of his profile. So that's a quality lefty to start off with against a scuffling righty. Brian Rocchio, I don't believe in at all as far as this offensive output that we've seen this season. He does not belong in the 2 spot, but if he's hitting up there, you can go to him. 3,300 at short, still cheap. 3,000, a little bit more than I would want to pay for that kind of a talent at any position on FanDuel. To put it in perspective, last year, 233, 290, 340, a 77 WRC plus. The 2 years to the right over there are even worse. I went through them yesterday. You can check yesterday's show if you want that, or you can just look them up on Fangraphs. That's not a good hitter. He's just been okay this year. No premium contact. He is very low strikeout, though. 13% right now, 20% each of the last couple years is the more realistic number, but he's been very good at limiting what he's been bad at. Chase the water, 40.3% hard hit. I think we can focus on a little bit at least. Clinging to relevance with that hard hit rate. 5.8% barrel. Dramatic dip in his output for power, output for home runs, but he's still got a good slash line, 263, 337, 408, drawing a 10.4% walk against a 13% strikeout rate. That's a tremendous mix to throw at Brandon Sproat here, and we could finally find the long-awaited 8th home run. He's still got some power in that bat. Kyle Manzardo, one of the true power hitters left in this lineup, 9.65 in your home run model, leads the way for this team. He's very cheap at 2,800 on DraftKings, 26 on FanDuel. You can get both him and Rhys Hoskins in addition to some of those other pieces on FanDuel. You cannot have both him and Rhys Hoskins on DraftKings, which again kind of sucks with the positional conflict. Be nice if they figured that out with like a util spot, DH spot. 11% barrel rates out of both those guys, matching 42.1% hard hit rates. Neither guy's hitting for average. Both guys getting on base at least at adequate clips at 326 and 328 respectively. We're just power hunting there, though. I like the upside for both those guys to have a little bit of home run output here. Both guys strike out heavily, but both guys are drawing double-digit walks. Rhys Hoskins at 16.9 is significant, but again, not hitting for any kind of average. And you're talking about one guy has 7 home runs, the other guy has 6 home runs this season. So it's not like they're lighting the world on fire for home run output. But those are your 2 key bats in the middle of this Guardians lineup. Sucks you can't have them both on DraftKings. Daniel Schneemann, a playable lefty. 6.5% barrel, 37.9% hard hits this year. That's down pretty significantly from some quality output that he found last year. He has hit 5 home runs. He's stolen 4 bags, 228, 302, 361 is a terrible slash line, but the counting stats kind of interesting in a medium sample of so far this year. Last year, 12 home runs, 9 steals in 422 with a similarly bad slash line overall. 280, 297 in the weighted on base department shows the technically underperformance, but the poor level of performance that should be expected in the ongoing sense. This is not a good bat to have in your lineup for major league purposes. At a cheap multi-positional price for DFS, interesting enough if he just happens to get into one from the left side. Stephen Kwan, more a hitter for average. The way they should probably configure this lineup today is to have maybe Stephen Kwan, Travis Bazzana, or Stephen Kwan. Honestly, Bazzana is actually fine there, but Stephen Kwan is an interesting leadoff hitter in his own right, and Kyle Manzardo probably should be hitting second just to take the power uptick and to take a quality bat. Brian Rocchio should just go back to his home in the 9 spot. If you wanted to go lefty-righty, you could make a very compelling argument for Rhys Hoskins in the 2 spot as well. There's power in that bat, and he actually draws a higher walk rate. So we'll see what they end up rolling out here. But Stephen Kwan, terrible so far this year at 211, 317, 259. But previously, tons and tons of success on batting average on balls in play. He's a very low strikeout, draws his occasional walks. This year, 12.7%. Previous years, it was single digits, but pushing close to 10%. But look at the strikeout rates each of these years. Very, very low. And he's doing that again this season. He's just been unfortunate. 211, 317, 259 is not 272, 330, 374, nor is it 292, 368, 425, or 268, 340, 370. That's who Stephen Kwan really is. Any given slate upside from multiple base hits. What he's not is a home run hitter. Every now and then he gets into one. But he can steal you a bag if he happens to get on. He's a much, much better player than he looks like right now, and this team needs him to succeed a little bit right now. Gabriel Arias, another player who can run into one at low ownership. 15% barrel and only 36 plate appearances this year, but had an 11.3, 43.3% hard hit last season. He's already hit 2 home runs in the short sample this year. Last year came away with 11 over 471 chances. The slash line is bad. The home run total and the stolen bases are all right, especially for picking them off here and there for DFS. And that is a large sample of very, very good batted ball events. So Gabriel Arias, kind of a player at 23 at shortstop. Like him even better at second base on FanDuel. Patty Bailey, here to do the pitch framing. On the Brewers side, I do think a potentially under-owned Brewer squad is really interesting. Target the probably highest owned pitcher on the slate. A very talented kid, but things that the Brewers do well could directly conflict with things that Gavin Williams is currently struggling a little bit with. So I like that upside. 6.52 in the home run model for Christian Yelich to lead off. 5,200, 3,600. Appropriately priced, I think. 272, 345, 411 with tons of upside to pay off from there. Not that it's showing in his xWOB at 295 under that 332 actual, but if we just remember a minute ago from last season and how good he was and all those previous seasons, how good he is, I think there's plenty of upside to come from Christian Yelich. Jackson Churrio's just looking like a star. 169 excellent plate appearances, already up to 9 homers, 5 stolen bases, and probably never going to look back. He is just this good. Take advantage. His price is going to go up on DK 5,000. That's going up 55, 58, somewhere around there in the next few weeks. He's 4,400 already on FanDuel. I think that's probably the highest price on this slate on FanDuel. William Contreras, nice and cheap, offset some of the higher pricing above him. 4,200 totally works at catcher. 33 on FanDuel. You can play him like he's their first baseman. Not that we want to skip Jake Bauers. We like Jake Bauers a lot. But if you're going back and forth, that's perfectly fine to use William Contreras like that. 293, 47, 405, a 110 WRC plus. 6 homers. The power output has been somewhat limited. 13% strikeout rate, though. Definitely a guy that you can throw into the mix and a guy who can work a walk against Gav here. 12.7% last year, 11.5 the year before that. He's down to 8.2 this year. It's come with that reduction in strikeout rate, though. So a lot of interesting things going on with Willie Contreras. Bauers at 49 at 36. Perfectly playable. 13 homers, 5 stolen bases on the season. Getting on at a 374 clip. Has always demonstrated that power upside, that ability to swipe a base. He's making better contact and more frequent contact, premium contact than he has in years past. That hard hit rate is up 10 percentage points right now. Barrel rate's exactly the same as it was last year. It's going to lead to a lot of success if he can continue that. Garrett Mitchell's another guy who's been barreling the ball, hitting it very, very hard this year. Results have been mixed. 5 homers, 6 stolen bases. He is getting on at a 353 clip, though, which is elite. 344, 341 weighted on base marks. Tremendous option that people are not using enough. 3,400, 2,900. Very, very cheap. That price should be 1,000 higher on DraftKings. 2,300 higher on FanDuel. Sal Frelick at 32.26, really going through it this season. 243 pretty bad plate appearances out of Sal. He's a usable piece last year. 288, 351, 405. Created a bunch of runs, 114 WRC plus. Kind of fit into this team's theme of just being on base, creating havoc on the base pass, scoring runs. I think he reclaims at least some of it. At worst, he's playable for very cheap pricing in the outfield to throw against the righty here. You just don't expect the huge scoring events out of Sal. He needs help from his friends to really provide quality. $2,200 Cooper Pratt, who we talked about yesterday at shortstop, went 0 for 3 yesterday, but tremendous upside piece coming up to this team. A lot of success as a very, very young player, rocketed through the minor league system. Very cheap at shortstop today. Don't sleep on that option if you're building with Brewers. That's an interesting piece to offset some pricing, especially when you want multiple bites at those very expensive guys. So we do that. Let's take Contreras at catcher, and let's just see what it looks like with the top 3 guys. We do that. We're at 44.20, 22,100 for the 5-man. That's manageable. It's less than ideal, but it's manageable. Let's say we sacrifice Bryce Turang. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll start with Jake. But we're probably eyeballing Garrett Mitchell for the discount. 43 exactly, 21.5 for the 4-man with Jake in it, or 5-man with Jake in it. And then if you go there with Garrett Mitchell, now we're at 4,000 exactly, 5-man price, 20,000 on the nose. That I like. That has some purchasing power. Again, you're using a team that's going to be under-owned for their ongoing quality, for the star power that's in that lineup, the run creation ability that's in that lineup, for the things that they do well, working against the things that Gav is struggling with. That's a really good-looking contrarian team to throw at potentially the most highly owned pitcher on the slate. I like that 5-man I just built over there. 4-man, probably a little bit more difficult to build with on FanDuel, but you get the same discounts down here around Garrett Mitchell and Cooper Pratt. Really interesting Brewer squad. I'm going to say Gavin Williams. Brewers bats. Guardians bats. Brandon Sproat bringing up the bottom. 58, I wouldn't call you crazy to throw some Brandon Sproat into the mix on DraftKings. 72 on FanDuel, I'm a lot more skeptical about his ability to actually get me to that quality start that I want. But at this price, he doesn't even really need to be all that good. And there's plenty of potential for him to be good with this team at 3.62 implied runs if he puts any of his talent on the mound today. Rockies lineup is in. Cubbies so far not in. Cubs drawing a monster near 6 implied. Wind's blowing out at Wrigley tonight. Per Roth, it's going to gradually move to more across the field, but still be hitter-friendly conditions, I believe. Sean Sullivan making his second outing here. Went 3 in that debut. What I said at the top of the show, though, I think that's kind of interesting because if people see 3 innings and think of him, he's going to be a short start, he's just going to be an opener, take him out of their process, that $5,200 price tag becomes a little bit juicy on the DraftKings board. Not that I really expect him to come out here and do anything at all to shut the Cubs down, but if we just get 5 innings out of him and maybe in the odd day you get an angle toward the win bonus, he's more than paid the bill at that price. So I think he's usable as long as we're getting 5. And by all accounts, he's good for 5 innings here. He just got sick in the middle of that game randomly last week. So I do think you can use him. I would temper my expectations, but he's better than these numbers. He's better than his minor league numbers. You can see how well he was locating in that game. That stands out. These are small sample numbers, or numbers that work in small samples. In the minors, again, PCL. So we ignore basically ERA and just any run-related numbers. 54 and 2/3, 11 starts, was striking out, excuse me, was striking out 20.2% against the 7.7% walk rate so far this year. Last year at AA, not PCL, had a 24.2% strikeout against the 6.1% walk. That was over 18 starts, 97 and a third, over which he pitched to a 3.14 ERA and a 3.39 xFIP. I think that's more representative of the talent, his age 22 season at AA, probably than what this age 23 at AAA PCL looks like so far. So take that into account. The kid's got talent. He's one of their top prospects. Being one of the top Rockies prospects, especially when you're a pitcher, doesn't exactly win you a lot of awards. Javier Assad at 6,300, going to be popular on DK. It's probably your most popular SP2 option. Very successful outing in, hopefully, I assume lower ownership on DraftKings. He was very low owned on FanDuel in that successful outing the other day. Went 6, struck out 5, pitched a clean game. You could easily see that upside, maybe even finds another strikeout or 2 along the way with this free swinging Rocky squad. Overall, though, like I said at the beginning of the show, this is not a guy who's a premium pitcher. 38 and a third, 4 starts, some relief work this year, 16% strikeouts against the 6% walk, a 5.6% swinging strike rate, 3.99 ERA, but a 4.24 xFIP. Doesn't really allow too much in terms of power, but there's a lot of hard hit. There's plenty of exit velo. He's just avoided barrels so far this season. Last year, 3.9% barrel, was doing similar things on less exit velo, 2.24% home runs. That was over 6 starts and 31 and 2/3. He was banged up last year. But again, 12.7% strikeout, 8.2% walk. Not a lot of quality there. 4.26 ERA, a 5+ xFIP in Sierra last year. 29 pretty decent starts back in 2024 through 147 innings, but again, sub 20% strikeout, near 10% walk. Had a 3.73 ERA that he dramatically overperformed his xFIP with, 4.61 xFIP, nearly a full run higher, 6.6% swinging strike rate. He's a good locator. Location and pitching plus above average, and have been. Maybe he finds some additional swinging strikes against guys like Ezequiel Tovar, who'll swing out of his shoes against anybody. But that's not an upside pitcher. Nothing about Assad's profile says he's an upside pitcher. He just happens to make that lack of quality work from time to time in good DFS spots where we kind of need him. No faith, but playable. Super, super playable at 63. If you can find your way around that, though, and we called out a couple cheaper options to do that with in Brandon Sproat, maybe Sean Sullivan at poor projections, probably advisable to work around that Assad likely ownership on DraftKings. On FanDuel at 86, my expectation is that he's a little bit more lightly owned. I do think we need 6 innings in our quality start for that price, though. That tempers the expectation a little bit, but he projects out just fine. That's probably also a projection that comes in relatively close to his ceiling, though, because, again, total lack of strikeout. Cubby's primed to give him the win bonus. Plays in a little bit here as well. 5.83 implied against a 4.29 implied. So a lot of wind going in Assad's direction. Rocks definitely in play, though. With all that lack of quality and Aviad Assad, you could see a good day from the Rockies. They're a 4.29 implied total. They got a little pop in the lineup. Hunter Goodman diminished to at 8.78 because, again, Assad oddly decent at keeping the ball in the yard. 15.9% barrel could change that a little bit. If Hunter Goodman happens to make contact with the right pitch, it's going into the seats with the wind blowing out. 20 home runs over 288 plate appearances, by far their best bat this season. Cole Carrig in the next spot, and Eddie Julian, our guy, moving up the lineup a little bit finally. Interesting bats to follow Hunter Goodman with. The top three guys, Jake McCarthy, solid mixer, ultimately just another outfielder on talent, but fairly priced and priced for that. 290, 332, 448. He's been very good so far this season. 4 home runs, 11 stolen bases. It's quality, 339 XWOBA, but you can see it's overperformance against that 312 actual. No premium contact to speak of. So don't count on McCarthy for anything other than a couple base hits and maybe some correlation. Tyler Freeman at 33-31, very playable. 268, 349, 573. Decent slash line, but again, some overperformance and a lackluster right around league average xWOBA. No real premium contact. Miscast in the 2 spot. Hunter Goodman should probably be hitting second. You can see how old school think this Rockies lineup is, though, with Goodman just cleaning up every day, day after day, when he ought to be hitting second. They're just 20 years behind. Rumfield at 41 at 29, 10 home runs, a decent slash line, 275, great on base at 354, creating runs 16% better than average on the season. Limiting strikeout could wreak havoc on Aviad Assad's upside, 14% strikeout, and all 3 of these guys sub 20% strikeouts. You don't get to the Ks until here, and then you get a ton of them. That collection of hitters, 27% strikeout rate so far on the season. 23-2 offset by those 3 low strikeout guys. So that's what could potentially feed some upside to a low strikeout guy like Assad throughout the game. So again, all 3 of these top guys playable. Goodman's your priority, but then those 2 guys that I called out, really interesting. Carrig just got here, 2,900, 3,100. Price going up already on FanDuel. He's hit 3 home runs in his first 34 plate appearances. Stole his first base last night. Stolen bases are his real skill set. But throughout the minor leagues, very good at hitting for average, using the speed, and getting on base, creating runs with a little bit of power. I don't expect this kind of pace of home runs to continue for very long, but take advantage. He's still very, very cheap. Switch hitter, interesting bat, now hitting 5th in this Rockies lineup. Followed by Julian, who has a 50.8% hard hit rate, which you wouldn't know if you were looking on this side of the board at all, because he's done nothing with it. 292 actual WOBA, 337 xWOBA under the surface. 6.8% barrel's just okay, but in previous seasons, 12-2 last year, 9-8, 13-1 going back in time. He's always been able to draw double-digit walk rates. Strikeouts are slightly down so far this season. In some weird ways, Eduardo Julian is putting up a decent season. You would not know it from the 228, 327, 304, the 2 home runs, the 4 stolen bases. There's nothing there. It's all under the surface. But he's super playable if you're going to this Rockies team against a gettable pitcher. Lefty bat, fills second base, cheap prices. There's a lot to like about that play. Ezequiel Tovar against this pitcher is playable just because of the lack of swinging strike. Like I said, he'll swing out of his shoes against anybody, but even he is less likely to swing and miss against Aviad Assad. So it does play into Ezequiel Tovar's upside. Maybe he finds the barrel. 8-9% each of the last few seasons. He's been atrocious so far. No consistency whatsoever over time, but he's shown more power than this at worst in an ongoing sense. Sterling Thompson, Kyle Karras, more mixers at the bottom of the lineup. Karras has been okay. 7% barrels and 42% hard hits are reasonable. 12.6% walk rate is interesting. 340 on base makes him a reasonable wraparound play. At third base, that totally works. 2,700, 2,800. Nobody's going to the bottom of the Rockies lineup for a player. So that's an interesting enough piece. You just bring them back around to the top. We're talking about 27 there. If I'm doing that, I probably want to work down through those guys so I buy a little bit of correlation between those. That's a 4-man now. And then you can take your pick, really, of McCarthy, Rumfield, and Freeman. You could easily work Tovar in there, but if I'm paying down like this for a full stack, basically, I think it makes sense to reserve some of that savings for a higher quality shortstop from another team. So if we're just bargain hunting, why not go with Tyler Freeman there at 33? My 5-man price is $17,100, $34.20 a piece, so $3,500 a piece. to, again, target Javier Assad. Rockies are another interesting contrarian team from a completely different angle than the Brewers are an interesting contrarian team. But again, that will be a popular pitcher to target. So all the more reason to consider some contrarian Rockies. On the Cubs side, Nico Horner in the leadoff spot is projected. Playing like a mix and match guy right now, but we know that the talent far exceeds that, or at least the Cubs hope it continues to, because they paid him 233, 313, 328, 84 WRC plus. You can see a lot of the underperformance in that 291 weighted on base against a 330 xWOBA. Last season, Nico was tremendous. 7 home runs, 29 steals, created runs 9% better than average while slashing 297, 345, 394. He's on his way back to that guy at some point. I think the second half will be a lot prettier at the end of the second half than the first half was. PCA, 5,800, 3,800 has turned himself back into one of the best offensive players in baseball right now. 14 homers, 16 stolen bases, a 136 WRC plus, tremendous weighted on base and expected numbers. Great for premium contact right now. Pete's going right. So take advantage. 5,838. The price has gone up. The sites have definitely noticed him. Alex Bregman at 43.29. Nice and cheap. Solid. If nothing else, he's a solid line drive bat now. Low strikeout, decent walk rate. There's a lot to like about Bregman and his profile in the heart of this lineup. He has slipped a little bit, though. He's down to a 99 WRC plus, limited output recently. 251, 339, 354 overall. Needs to find a little bit more of an uptick in power. But I do like him for on-base skills. I do like him for that nice cheap price at a key position at third base. Say Suzuki against any lefty. Definitely power upside. 9.79 leads the team today in the home run model. He's got 10 in 245 chances this year. Just getting warmed up. There's a lot of power lurking there. 4,800, 3,000. That's a nice price too. Ian Happ at 45.34. A little bit more expensive FanDuel-wise, but perfectly reasonable. 16 homers out of Happ. 330 on base, just doing Ian Happ kind of things. Carson Kelly, Matt Shaw, mix and match pieces both. Kelly's kind of interesting at the catcher spot if he's doing the catching today because he's 29 where you need the position. Solid slash line over 189 plate appearances, 349 on base is very interesting from the catcher for correlated scoring. Has a little bit more power than has been on display with the 3 homers so far this year. The lack of premium contact, if you just look at last year, 9.6% barrel, 40.3% hard hit, was kind of interesting. Michael Busch, plenty of barrels, but has slipped for quality and consistency. 17-1 down to 12% so far this year. Only 8 home runs. The thing he's doing best is drawing the walks. 15.5%, getting them on base at a 379 clip. It's a good wraparound piece. Weird to think of him that way after that tremendous power season that he had last year. But if he's hitting down lineup, that on base keeps him afloat, keeps him relevant to just coming back around to the top. Maybe you go Busch PCA, you pick off a couple big lefties with plenty of power. Once we get into the Rockies bullpen, boy, do those guys have upside. Matt Shaw, not a big fan, just a mix and match type guy. Nothing really to write home about. No real premium contact, not reliable enough getting on base. And then Dansby's been just miserable this season. Eventually, I think he does find at least some more premium contact upside, but it's been a struggle. 175, 281, 306, a 69 WRC plus, and really no positive indicators through the xWOBA. Cubs bats, Assad for value. Close on his heels, though. Rockies bats. Sean Sullivan is a mixer on DK for 52, a value option that won't be used all that much. I think he's on the board. Know that it's a very likely to fail dart throw. It's like you've got your dart and one of the flights is missing. Probably 2 of the flights are missing. And if you throw it, it'll just like go like that and then just dip to the floor and the board's like over there. That's probably the dart you're throwing today. Every now and then you throw that thing hard enough, maybe it rockets through space and time and hits into the bullseye. How's that for an analogy? Let's keep on going. 2 games to go. Tall Tale, what's going on, buddy? Oh, thanks, Colin. Appreciate you calling that out. Colin letting me know that I had a typo, accidentally carried the White Sox team name into the Yankees in my upload. I got to automate that at some point. Build me another button here. Move lineups. So it'll like automatically go like copy, paste into my upload file, copy. Because that's what I'm doing manually right now. And then I type in the teams. But let me fix that right now in the previous version that went up, just so I don't forget to do it. Yep. I certainly don't want to give Goldie, Ben Rice, and all those Yankees to the White Sox. All right. That'll be fixed in the next update after the show. It's fixed on the back end. Larry C. picking Corbin Carroll as his home run pick of the day. It's got to go in comments, as you know, Larry. I know you've been entering every day, so you know that well. But scrolling across the bottom of your screen, join our ongoing home run picks contest. Leave a post-show comment with your home run pick. First to 5 wins. The leader currently has 3. Let me pull up the leaderboard real quick. There's your leaderboard. Loyalty Chisel with 3. Cujo's got 2. Larry and Beyond the Rabbit Hole both have 1 apiece. Multi-day contest ongoing until somebody gets to 5. If there's a tie, there's a tie, and you both get the free month. But you can win yourself a free month of Rotoscouts.com. You can use now. You can wait till September when there's multiple sports going on. We cover all 4 major sports for under $1 a day under normal circumstances at Rotoscouts. But this gets you a free month whenever you want it. Rules are same YouTube handle every single day for my own sanity. I will not total across multiple handles. 1 pick per person per day has to come from the slate discussed during the show. That's an important detail for today. Cannot use my pick of the day, which was Jarren Duran. Only 1 Ohtani or Judge usage. Ohtani's only been used, has been used successfully by our leader, Loyalty Chisel, so he cannot use Ohtani again. Anybody who has not used him can continue to use him or can use him once. Yeah, I figured, Larry. Remind me to talk about it. Appreciate you. So those are the rules. Go win yourself a free month. Leave your home run pick of the day. Leave me just a comment, even if you don't want to enter the contest. Just say, hey, dummy, you really screwed up that show. You were all over the place. Somebody threw you off at the beginning of the show and you never really recovered. That's how I feel. I might leave myself that comment at the end of this show. This is your stacks board. We haven't really talked about it. This is up on the website behind the paywall. There's your weather, by the way, also. Wrigley. You can see the wind blowing out. Apparently, it's going to come down across the field a little bit. Yankee Stadium has some rain in the area, but you can see it's not concerning. Roth didn't seem concerned about either of those spots, so perfectly fine. That's via propfinder.app/weather. Follow Kevin Roth at Kevin Roth WX. Best baseball weatherman in the business. Looking at that stacks board, you can see the Cubbies dominating the top of the board against Sullivan there. He doesn't rank well as a pitcher. Cubs number 1 by home run. Number 1 by value on FanDuel, in addition to being the projected number 1, 4th by value on DraftKings, where they get a little pricey. But you've got some good quality offset options. The Red Sox, for example, 1st by value, 3rd by projection, 5th by home runs, 3rd highest Vegas total. That's a nice piece probably to put together with some Cubs bats over there. A lot of different pieces you can put in. The Blue Jays, a lot of value in that 2 spot. We talked about how good they could potentially be even without home run power against Jake Bennett. And then those Guardians against that vulnerable Brandon Sproat, 3rd by value because they're low projected overall. Their point per dollar doesn't look totally great. If they were projected like even where, let's say, the Yanks or the Athletics were collectively, that would probably be your number 1 point per dollar value spot on the DK board. I think they're very usable. You've got some interesting angles into this one, given low-owned contrarian Brewers, probably low-owned contrarian Rockies against the top pitcher of the day and probably the top value guy of the day by ownership. Then you get cheapo options like the Guardians in there against the totally gettable Brandon Sproat for very cheap prices. Sucks we don't have Jose Ramirez, but at a point you stop caring. I think there's really, really interesting game theory type angles into this one. FanDuel, you don't get the Braves, you don't get the Giants, but you get a healthy mix of everybody else and most of the teams you would actually want. Max Scherzer no longer making that start for the Blue Jays. Also scrolling across the bottom of your screen. By the way, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. As you look down toward the bottom of the screen, the thumbs up guy, if it's still white, if it's still empty, click it so it fills in, so we get credit. Your first week at Rotoscouts for the foreseeable future is going to be free. If you've just been thinking about checking us out, if you've just stumbled across us for the first time and you don't want to spend money on a place you don't know, looks with a background like this, as the trolls like to say. First week's going to be free on a weekly plan. If you feel like giving it a test drive, promo code is TRYME, all one word, right on your screen at the bottom right now. Capital T, capital M. 100% free first week on a new weekly. No commitment. It will renew at regular price, which is $6.93 for the next week, if not canceled. You have the opportunity to cancel it at any time 24/7 through that first week so that you don't have to pay. But I'd like it if you stay on. Hopefully you win and it pays for itself. So check that out. Pirates bats 5-2-0 implied against the Athletics 4-9-1 in Sutter. Definitely an upside spot for offense. Aaron Savali is a pretty big no thank you for me. 4.20 ERA, but a 5+ xFIP approaching 5 Sierra, only a 16% strikeout. He hasn't been walking anybody this year, but look at the premium contact he's allowing. 20.8 degree average launch is not going to play in this minor league park. 47% hard hits on that. 91 miles an hour of exit velo on that. 4.88% home run. Entirely realistic. Savali last year, 3.68% home run was a little bit better, but that's still an extreme fly ball trajectory and probably lucky to keep it below 4. He struck out 20.2%, so it was slightly better for K's last year. Came on slightly more swinging strikes at 8.6%, but that's still not a very good rate. 4.85 ERA matching xFIP in Sierra. Year before that, he was a little bit better. 4.36 ERA, 4.31 xFIP, 21.6% strikeout, but you can see the slide. It's very visible in those statistics year over year. And now we're here. And now he's facing a reasonably hard-hitting Pirates team, even when O'Neal Cruz isn't in the lineup. He's facing the top guy in the Fangraphs game sims for home run probability today in Brandon Lau. In my model, he's at 11.71. I came really close to making Lau the home run pick of the day, but I figured why go with the chalk? I wanted to grab one of those lefties from the Red Sox. Jarren Duran was the one I did. But love the upside for Brandon Lau here. Spencer Harwitz is a really interesting lefty bat. Ryan O'Hearn is a really interesting lefty bat. Brian Reynolds, switch hitter. Tons and tons of talent. Star caliber, who's reclaimed most of his talent so far this year. And then this team's got good mixers through Tyler Callahan, who's been downright interesting over his first few plate appearances. Nick Gonzalez is finding success just for putting bat on ball frequently and putting the ball in play, beating it to first base, correlated scoring. Jared Triolo, Jake Mangum, Henry Davis, more mixers, but Davis is at least interesting for premium contact. He's had 5 home runs and 145 chances that have been otherwise completely terrible. It's a very playable Pittsburgh team that's going to get popular in this spot. They're no secret here. But Savali, 76, no thanks. 83, no thanks. This is also his first start back. He made one, I want to say, rehab start. So you're probably also dealing with a pitch count limitation. He had been out with a shoulder issue, which I greatly fear shoulder issues. In many ways, if I'm getting a pitcher injury, I would rather have it be their elbow than their shoulder. We're better at rebuilding elbows. The minor league, yeah, there it is. 4 1/3, 1 rehab start, 4 1/3. Faced the Kansas City AAA affiliate, was spectacular. Faced 13 AAA hitters, struck out 7 of them. No hits, no runs. Nice, clean line. It's a AAA team. And not a particularly good one off the top of my head. I don't think that's any kind of indicator. The fact that he only faced 13 hitters, I think he threw 50 some odd pitches. So you're probably getting 4 innings, maybe 5 against a 5-run total for not an overly discounted prices. If you neutralize everything about this game, including the pitch count and the injury, this would still probably be the wrong price to have this version of Aaron Savali at. Just not a good pitcher, not a good option. Braxton Ashcraft, on the other hand, has been tremendous this year. 13.1% swinging, 26.2% strikeout rate against a 5.5% walk, puts him at ace level. 20.64 strikeout minus walk. He's matched that. 3.30 ERA, 3.30 xFIP, 3.29 Sierra. You cannot get much closer than that. You can by 1/100th of a point of Sierra. He's been avoiding premium contact. Stuff plus, pitching plus, and location plus, all grayed out well above average. Braxton Ashcraft is just good. But 10-6 in this ballpark against this hard-hitting athletic squad, 98, this could go sideways in a real hurry. With his ability to limit the home run ball, you do see an impact through here, even in this ballpark. No Brent Rooker in an ongoing sense for the Athletics. Only Kurtz is above the magic number. But there is more power lurking there just based on the conditions in this park. Last season, Ashcraft was also very good in 8 starts, 69 2/3 with some relief work, 9.1 degree average launch, limited opposing hitters to a 1.03% home run rate in that sample, 88 miles an hour of exit velo, so he's very good at inducing medium contact, 4.6% barrel rate. So it's very believable that he does impact the home run upside a little bit, but the ballpark gives a lot of it back. Definitely think you're going to play him. I think he's mandatory across anything more than 1 to 3 lineups. If you're building 5, you got to have Braxton Ashcraft in at least 1 or 2 of them. Even on FanDuel at that hefty price. And he's talented enough and he's pitching well enough to make his way through this situation. It's just a really ugly spot. Gavin Williams is going to be way more popular, though. So it is an angle toward slightly offset combinations, slightly offset while staying expensive popularity. Pirates bats, Spencer Harwitz, as mentioned, 4,000, 3,000. Great pricing. I honestly no longer even have issues with his first base positioning. He's just been good. This guy we're all over. 277, 383, 446, 9 home runs, the ability to drive the ball effectively, gets himself to first base and provides correlated scoring. It's a dynamite leadoff option for this team. 133 WRC plus. People are still asleep on Spencer Harwitz. Good option here. He's frequently in the top 4 mans, top 5 mans when I run the game sims. Brendan Lau, as mentioned, 11.71 on the home run model. Enough said. Brian Reynolds, 10 home runs on the season, 400 on base, going up against this version of Aaron Savali. You can see Brian Reynolds on base 3-4 times today. You can see Brian Reynolds home run. He might steal a bag if he happens to get on. Excellent piece. 51.35. Pricing is mostly caught up to the resurgence, but this again is just him finding his old quality again. Ryan Hearn's been very good over multiple seasons strung together now. 10 home runs this year, 282, 346, 454, a 121 WRC plus. Outrageously good. 5,000, 3,200 is not bad pricing. There are a lot of worse players at those same prices. Gonzalez, again, I like the second or third base eligibility. I don't really want him at shortstop on FanDuel, but he's got second and third over there. He's hitting for a great average, 291, 342, 358 slash line. You can see there's no real premium contact here. He's just a slap hitter, but he's found a ton of success doing that this season, and that's where the batting average comes from. It's all about locating those balls in play. Callahan, solid barrel in a small sample, 2 home runs on the board. Excellent slash line. That's a very usable piece. Lefty bat to throw into the mix at third base or in the outfield on either side. Second base outfield on FanDuel. And then, like I said, these guys, more mixers. Mangum is just a quad A type talent. Jared Triolo, mix and match piece. Mangum has stolen 13 bags and gotten on at a 350 clip. Don't get me wrong. This is a good 163 plate appearances. We saw this exact same thing over the first 150 last year, and they completely went back in the tank. He is a 30-something-year-old career minor leaguer. So not a ton of upside, but definitely playability at the bottom of the lineup for the Pirates. On the athletic side, Kurtz, the 10.5, the 18 home runs, the ridiculous 442 on base with a 20% walk. He's just fantastic. 64.45 makes him difficult to reach, especially if you're putting him together with any of his teammates here. But as a standalone first baseman or just, standing tall at the top of this lineup, looks utterly tremendous. Shea Langoliers not far behind that. 8.8 in the home run model, a matching 18 home runs in fewer plate appearances. Tremendous power upside, and he is turned a corner as far as his ability to succeed across the slash line. That's just a very, very good hitter now. Tyler Soderstrom, not far behind Langoliers. 12 home runs on the board for him. The average is lower. The on-base is basically the same as what Langoliers has put up. 10.8% barrel, but the hard hit rate is actually exceeding Shea Langoliers right now. He did the same thing last year on a little bit higher barrel rate. This is a truly good lefty power hitter with the ability to get on base. 12.8% walk this year. He's reduced his strikeout rate this year. Tyler Soderstrom is doing very interesting things up there. Jacob Wilson, good average hitter, 282, 308, 384 right now. A guy I like to get on base, just completely miscast in the cleanup role. He should not be hitting there. He should be, not leading off if you're going to get a 442 on base out of Nick Kurtz. But you could make an argument at least for going Wilson into Kurtz in the 2 spot. But what they're doing here is the correct version. But there's got to be a better spot. He should probably be hitting third with Soderstrom hitting cleanup, honestly. That's probably the way you would build this. Solid traditional 3-hitter hit for average, so on and so forth. But he's playable at shortstop too. I don't have a problem with the position because he's that good of a hit tool player. Carlos Cortez has made very interesting contact over 198 plate appearances, carrying a very strong slash line. 6 home runs on the board, backed up by a 365 xWOBA under his 367 actual so far. He's just been very, very good this year. 131 WRC plus, kind of out of nowhere, but the sites haven't noticed at all. He's still 4,000, 2,800. Zach Geloff is all the way up to 5,000. They noticed him on DraftKings. 32 on FanDuel, not quite fully priced. 10 home runs, 8 steals, excellent slash line for a former 2020 guy who is really putting together one of the better runs that we've seen from him. Now up to 208 plate appearances too. We're getting into somewhat extended sample territory. I don't know that it continues given that 292 xWOBA under the 363 actual. There's a concerning 50 and change or 70 and change point gap there. But we've seen Zach Geloff succeed at the major league level pretty significantly, and he's doing Zach Geloff things right now. Lawrence Butler, very cheap at 34.26, another former 2020 guy, including last year. In a bad season, Lawrence Butler still hit 21 home runs and stole 22 bags, also scored 83 runs last season. That's not nothing when it comes to DFS. Those are good counting stats. Henry Bolte, good player with a lot of upside. 6 stolen bases, a home run on the board, excellent slash line over his first 109 major league plate appearances. 49.2% hard hit rate suggests that we find some barrels and a couple more home runs along the way. He's a medium, 12 to 15 homer and a bunch of stolen bases while getting on base type of a player. Jeff McNeil, slap hitter, occasionally puts one in the seats like he did the last time I called him a slap hitter. Okay, so the truth of the situation is that it's Braxton Ashcraft, then the bats. But the way I'm going to rank it is the bats on top. I think you go bats, Pirates, Athletics, then Braxton Ashcraft. I say that just because Ashcraft is just so completely necessary to this slate that really lacks quality pitching. And there's plenty of opportunity for him to succeed here. I just don't love the option at price in ballpark against these guys. It'd be weird if he was playing anybody else in this ballpark. Savali, not on my board. I think he is that bad. We round things out with an Orioles-Mariners game from which we can hopefully extract some quality pitching. George Kirby, 9,093, looking pretty tremendous up at the top of the board. 4.07 ERA, but a 3.54 xFIP, 3.72 Sierra. Better pitcher than he's been so far this year. 10.5% swinging strike rate, leading to a 21.1% strikeout against a 6% walk. You could say 15.1 strikeout minus walk. Last year, it was 26.1 against a 5.5, leading to a 20.6, putting him at ace level. 4.21 ERA, a little underperformance as far as the runs, but a lot of that out of his control. 3.25, 3.39 numbers under the surface in the things that he can actually control. George Kirby is tremendous and not fully priced, in my opinion. That's a $10,000 pitcher. Take advantage. Great spot. Probably going to be popular going up against an O's team that over 1,899 plate appearances for the active roster against righties has a 109 WRC plus, solid 330 collective weighted on base. They've hit 61 home runs. This is a good squad against right-handed pitching. This is a very pitcher-friendly park. That is a very good pitcher. Probably my top pitcher on the day when I'm factoring all of that in. Cobb Radish at 83, at 88 also works as an option. 14 starts. The concern here is the elevated walk rate. He was already at 9.2% in 5 outings in 28 innings last year, but it came against that near 36% strikeout rate. That strikeout rate has dipped to 22.6% in this year's 14 starts, while the walk rate has gone up. So that's not a good combination. He's about halfway to being an ace. That's not where you want him. 4.43 Sierra under that 4.30 ERA, so everything just basically functioning like it looks like it is. A lot of barrels on the board, but he keeps the angle down somewhat. When he makes mistakes, they can get into the seats. Probably right around correct at that 3.41% home run, because he is inducing weak and medium contact with some consistency. So it's really that 10.5% barrels is representative of the mistakes he's made. You can see that was a little bit cleaner last year, but it was a much more significant fly ball trajectory in that small sample. Year before, in 8 starts, 39 innings, it was back down. And the year before that, in an actually complete season, was a 6.6 degree average launch. So I think we can comfortably say that Cobb Radish, outside of this outlier in 5 starts, is a guy who can keep the ball in the yard at least somewhat effectively. Has good stuff. Should find some ongoing strikeouts. 25% back in that complete season, 32% in 8 starts, 35, nearly 36% in 5 starts. So if you're putting those together, that's a very good strikeout pitcher who just does have a little issue with walks. I think you can use Cobb Radish at 83. I think you can use him at 88. He projects out just fine. Going up against a gettable Mariner squad with a sub-4 implied total. Ballpark also works on in Cobb Radish's favor. I do like the Mariners upside a little bit more because they're facing Cobb Radish, not George Kirby. We'll go through the Orioles first, though. Taylor Ward at 44, 32. Getting on base like crazy, not hitting power. I think we've focused on that quite a bit already. I think the sub 20% strikeout is interesting. That's come down from 26.4 last year, 24.6 the year before. The walks have gone up very significantly. He's gained 7 points of walk, 7.5 points of walk. So not bad considering all those gains. And if the power comes back, and I think he's a player that can turn that on pretty quickly just by finding the angle again. Not uninteresting for those prices, even against George Kirby. Gunnar at 53-36, their go-to bat, 14 home runs, substandard slash line, but we would expect that to come up as the season rounds out. Adley Rutschman at 4,300. Nice and cheap for the reclaimed talent. 8 home runs, solid slash line, 341 on base, creating runs at a 127 clip. Very interesting 364 xWOB under the 355 actual. Adley's had a tremendous year, and the site where you need catchers has not really noticed. 35 on FanDuel is not incorrect. You just don't necessarily need the position, and you want to have Pete Alonso, and you've also got Sammy Vasallo there to deal with. So a lot of back and forth in that Orioles lineup, even on FanDuel for those 3 catcher first base util options. You do have the conflict if both catchers are in the lineup, but you get a nice $500 price difference between 2 guys who are doing a lot of similar things out there. Both guys hit the ball pretty hard. Both guys can put the ball in the seats, and they bookend Pete Alonso. So it's not a bad if you could get to it 3-man, but taking any 2 of those guys in any given stack of Orioles is highly advisable. That's their power core. Leody Taveras, 35-27, a mix and match talent with the ability to fill some counting stats at worst. Went through a good stretch, has come back down to earth in most categories except for the on-base percentage. If he's getting on at a 338 clip, though, he remains interesting for correlated scoring, especially hitting ahead of Colton Cowser, Kobe Mayo, Jackson Holliday. Those are 3 good bats down the bottom of this Orioles lineup. In a weird way, this is a solid 9-man Orioles lineup. I think I said that yesterday, too. Look at the barrels in medium samples for these kids. 7 home runs, 9 home runs, 3 home runs in only 85 plate appearances. 2 of the 3 aren't hitting above the Mendoza line. 2 of the 3 are below a 300 on base, and Colton Cowser's 306 is nothing to get excited about. Cowser hit 16 homers, but was sub-Mendoza himself last year with a 269 on base. You got 11 home runs out of Kobe Mayo last year with a 299 on base, but was above the Mendoza line, as was Jackson Holliday, over 649 chances. I didn't remember Holliday getting that many plate appearances last year. 17 homers, 17 stolen bases. You know, there's reasonable upside there as far as those counting stats last season for DFS goes. It would not be unfair to say, like, remember going back to last year and like the beginning of this season, how much I talked about Jordan Walker and how his rookie season was kind of underrated for the quality, and then they just kind of moved him up and down inconsistently, and he got inconsistent plate appearances and so on and so forth, and then we've seen what he's become this season. That's not an unfair comparison to make for Jackson Holliday last year, and then just how they've treated him over the last couple seasons, including the beginning of this year. And on talent, that's also not a bad comparison. You're talking about 2 guys who are peak level prospects on their way up through their respective systems. Still a very interesting player, 3,400, 2,900 to fill out second base. Mayo's got power. Cowser's got power. Those are 3 very interesting bats. I wouldn't call you crazy for doing that into, I mean, I do want the 2 power bats and just do that. That's a 39.60 average, 19.8 for the 5-man. You get a ton of power upside there. If you're hunting George Kirby, which is not advisable, that's a really compelling way to do it. The reason I paused up at the top was just thinking about, like, I could pick off some on base there. DraftKings, I could pick off the catcher share, makes it kind of interesting. If you did that, you sacrifice Gunnar and take Adley, you get a little correlation with Pete there, and you bring it down to 37.60, 18.8 total. And obviously we can go a little bit even further if we go Sammy Vasallo, and now we're just going a 4 down stack here. Leody Taveras isn't in it. It's these bottom 3 guys and those 2. Now I'm at 36.60, 18.3. So we're coming down by small degrees, but there's a lot of combinations to make with Orioles bats if this is their lineup. On the Mariners side, J.P. Crawford was in the leadoff role yesterday. We'll see if he goes back there today. Not miscast up there. 363 on base so far this season. On base is really his one ongoing skill set. Power comes and goes. Stolen bases can come and go a little bit. He is always good at getting on base. 352 on base over 654 last year. 451 plate appearances 2 years ago. He made a liar of me with that 304 on base percentage, but he goes up to like 380 this year. Yeah. 2023 was at 380 over 638 chances. Just went through something in 2024. 202, 304, 321. A lot of those plate appearances weren't in the leadoff spot anymore. Forgot about that when I said he's always on base. But obviously that is an ongoing skill of J.P. Crawford. 10 home runs is a little bit of an outlier in 237 plate appearances. He's never been that good of a power bat, but he's found a 9.2% barrel rate so far this season, sub 20% strikeout, whole lot of walks. That's an interesting enough shortstop if you're already going Mariners. He doesn't really give you the reason to go to the Mariners, but Cal Raleigh sure does. 4,300, 2,700 going up against Kyle Bradish. Guy giving up a 10.5% barrel rate. Cal Raleigh could find a home run. 165, 249, 317 start to his year. 7 home runs after hitting 60 last year. We know what Cal Raleigh really looks like. 43 is a nice discount on that talent where you need catcher. 27, treat him like a first baseman on FanDuel, especially because you can put Luke Raley in the outfield. Julio, 55, 34, no problems with the pricing. 13 homers, 9 steals. Excellent option. 341 xWOBA tells us that we're going back up in the second half like we always do with Julio. Just frustrating how slow he starts basically every year. 42 on Luke Raley, 38 on Dom Canzone. Those are two players with 16+% barrel rates and upper 40% hard hit rates this season. 14 and 10 home runs respectively. Canzone even comes with an excellent slash line at 287, 357, 555. His fellow lefty a little bit more diminished as far as the slash, but tremendous for power. 359 xWOB under the 347 actual. Canzone has a 389 under a 391. Those are two very talented lefties. People sleep on those options. Don't do it. They're cheap. They're compelling. 29, 28. FanDuel hasn't noticed them either. I really don't understand those prices on either side. Both those guys are 800 more for Raleigh would be not unfair on DraftKings. 400 more on FanDuel, 500 more. Canzone, you could easily argue for 1,000 more on DraftKings. FanDuel, an easy 600 to 800 more. Those guys are putting up quality to match prices like what I just named, and people aren't using them enough. Cole Young, decent mixer, having an okay year, 257, 319, 357, 5 homers, 2 steals. Gotten a lot of plate appearances early. We'll see where it goes with Emerson up, J.P. Crawford back, so on and so forth. But right now he's continuing to get opportunities. Playable at worst. Victor Robles back with this team, 29-25. He's only made 48 plate appearances, stolen 2 bases already. It's an interesting player in the 12 home run type guy in a full season, handful of stolen bases. Had a very good 295 plate appearances for this team 2 years ago. 307, 381, 433 overall that year. 34 stolen bases, hit 4 home runs in that or not even half a season, the third of the season. And then fell apart in limited action last year, was mostly hurt, and has not made it back in full so far this year. But that's a talented guy for 2,925. More of a hit for average, low strikeout, put a ball in play and beat it to first base type. But a good piece. If you're going down the bottom of the lineup fishing for Colt Emerson, you could take Robles along for the ride there by a little correlation. Emerson's already hit 6 home runs in his major league career, and he's only had 87 plate appearances so far. That kid is a potential future all-star. Not saying it just because he's hit 6 home runs. Everything we know about the minor league pedigree says he's a future potential all-star. 5.5% barrel, 29.1% hard hit. So those 6 homers have come on basically nothing levels of contact. Just look forward to when he starts making more frequent, high-quality contact. Miles Mastroboni, a lot of strikeout. Mixer is a walk rate right now over 21 plate appearances. So 16% strikeout rate in each of the last 2 seasons in small samples, though. Just a mixer at third base, not an overly desirable option over the years. George Kirby, Kyle Bradish, Mariners bats, Orioles bats. Mariners probably more important bats-wise than the Orioles are. Either side of this, though, I wouldn't begrudge anybody some contrarian Orioles, and it is another spot where you can attack what is likely to be the second most popular pitcher. Maybe Kirby ends up more popular than Gav, given the price difference. I certainly have him projected slightly higher. People, you know what? I bet you Kirby ends up more popular than Gav on both sides. It's closer on DraftKings, but people are going to look to attack the Orioles a little bit more than the Brewers, I would think. And it's a stark price difference on FanDuel. But either way, again, the Brewers, super usable against Gavin Williams. Orioles, usable enough against George Kirby with that quality 9-man lineup with some interesting cheap bats down bottom. Carlos Rodon, I'm a believer. I wouldn't say I'm a follower with absolute blind faith, but I'm a believer. Against that White Sox team with no Murakami in it, that helps quite a bit. As long as he wrangles the walk, I think we're okay. The White Sox, interesting enough on the other side, though. We talked about some of the quality upside bats, some of the sleeping players that people will not have in their lineups tonight, like Everson Pereira. Interesting upside play for a little bit of premium contact in Yankee Stadium against the lefty. Could put one in the seats at a cheap price and super low ownership. Colson Montgomery, like we talked about, a lot of success this year against same-handed pitching. Lefty bat in Yankee Stadium with all that power, he puts a lazy fly ball toward right field that might get into the seats. Javier Assad's going to get super popular as an SP2 on DraftKings. 86 on FanDuel, I hope reduces the ownership. Braxton Ashcraft is very good and has been pitching great. It's just a really concerning situation, and I couldn't do anything that wouldn't have been totally artificial to inflate that projection any more than it is. You want to go into your optimizer and give them another 3 FanDuel points, another 1.5 on DraftKings? By all means, go for it. I didn't want to do it in content that I have to publish. If I notice that I'm not getting enough Braxton Ashcraft in my runs, I probably will do that myself. So might be a good idea. But it's not projectable. Sprout at 58. We talked about maybe you could throw him into the mix because he's so cheap against that diminished Guardians lineup. But I like them as a frisky, cheap, contrarian like value angle, tackling a pitcher who just has not been good by and large at the major league level. Richie, just a dart. Anthony Kay against the Yankees. Max Scherzer's not pitching anymore, but we don't want anything from from on the mound for Toronto anyway. Jake Bennett is a dart throw at 66 from the bargain bin on DK. Wizenhunt, maybe same thing at 64, and people probably not going to be all that aware. And then you get to 52 on Sean Sullivan there, who again is maybe kind of interesting given the talent, given the fact that people won't use him because what the minor league numbers look like in the PCL, and given the upside, or given the fact that he only went 3 because he got sick in the middle of the last game. So people will be thinking, bad minor league pitcher is going to give me 3 innings. I'm not going to use that. It's not a go-to, but that price is cheap enough where, 1 or 2 of these guys go sideways, or, maybe it's that guy and that guy go sideways as the other go-to SP2s. And there's a lot of reason to expect that Sprout will go sideways. And there's enough reason to think that Assad won't succeed. That creates an angle through which Sean Sullivan goes 5, finds a couple strikeouts along the way, limits the Cubbies to even like 4 runs at that price. You're doing all right. It's not great, but you're doing all right. That's your likely path toward value there. And then Aaron Savali, just pretend he's not pitching. That's unfair. He's as playable as Sean Sullivan probably is, but I just don't like that option. I think he's in a lot of trouble and probably not going to pitch deep into the game because he only made 1 rehab coming off a shoulder injury. Where am I going? That's what I was looking for. One last time, there's your home run picks contest. Those are the rules. After the show, come on back, leave a comment on the show, leave your home run pick. No Rayleigh in the Seattle lineup. Wah, wah, wah. Larry C. asked a good question. Do you know when Seattle's starting that piggyback starting pitcher thing? I believe they said next week, but don't quote me on that. Seattle unanimously, apparently amongst their starting pitchers, they've got 6 guys right now, and instead of going to a traditional 6-man, and giving everybody the extra day and not as many starts, they're going to go through everybody in that rotation in what we saw Bryce Miller and Luis Castillo doing for a minute there, where it won't be a traditional opener or a newfangled opener follower setup, but it also won't be traditional starter and then, into the bullpen. It'll be a planned starter, say, Bryce Miller for 5 innings, or if he can get a 6, maybe 6. And then George Kirby comes in for 3 or 4 innings to round out the game. So they're trying to give 2 starters per game action to keep everybody at least, reasonably close to what they ought to be throwing. It's not the right way to do it. Probably not going to work. They need to make a trade or realize that Emerson Hancock is just pitching over his head. Luis Castillo's not all that good anymore. Castillo's on an okay run. But, yeah, it's just a weird decision. But apparently the pitchers are all for it. Tall Tales throwing a wonky dart at Javier Assad. Yeah, look, that is the go-to bargain bin pitcher of the day. I just liked it a lot more the other day when we were talking about it being 5-6% owned, off the board, other spots that people were going to be using. Really stood out to me that day because we've succeeded with that exact pitcher through that exact path before. I think it's a completely different play when he's going to be drawing probably 20+% ownership, especially on DK. So just be aware that people are going to go there. That's why I was trying my best to call out those other bargain bin guys who are a bad pitcher against a bad team and a completely unproven PCL pitcher against a very good team. So best of luck. Might be a good day to play middle combinations on DraftKings if we can. Let's see what those look like. But one more time, win yourself a free month of Rotoscouts content that you can use anytime. 1st to 5 wins. Leader right now is at 3. Leave your home run pick as a comment. There's the rules. You can also get a free week anytime right now. 100% free weeks. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen in just a moment will be the promo code. The promo code is TRYME, all one word, like come try out our stuff, try me. All one word, capital T, capital M. First week on a weekly plan, all you got to do is pick a weekly at checkout. Use that promo code. It'll zero out your first week. If you cancel it within that first week, it will not charge you at any point. It will renew after a week at regular price, which is $6.92 for a week, aka under $1 a day. Monthly and quarterly plans also available. Everything always under $1 a day for every single main slate. Right now it's baseball only, but we cover all 4 sports. It's not my fault they're not playing over the summer. Those lazy football and hockey and basketball players. What do you guys think? Should I go to the parade tomorrow? It's going to be such a shit show. I want to celebrate. I want to get out there and not look back 5 years from now and be like, I didn't celebrate that enough. But my God, is it going to be a mob? There's going to be 3 million people in the Canyon of Heroes tomorrow. NYPD rolled out their largest ever deployment. 10,000 uniformed officers and probably a whole bunch more undercovers and so on working that crowd tomorrow. 10,000 cops. There are not many things you could tell me there were going to be 10,000 cops at that I would still be debating going. But a Knicks championship is one of them. Yeah, it's going to, Larry, I know. It's going to be a total mess. But I avoided the city on the night they won. I don't know. I kind of want to be in the mess. I don't know. Reg Cal 85 chiming in says you should go all in caps with multiple exclamation points. That's outweighing Larry. I don't know. Larry's office is a block away from the St. Pat's. Yeah, when I used to work in the city, I was over on 7th Avenue, right by Times Square. So invariably, every St. Patrick's Day by 10:30 in the morning, we had this little spot we would go down and hang out on, smoke breaks and stuff. Downstairs on the sidewalk, and there's like this little alcove that you can hang out in. Every single St. Patrick's Day, somebody would be passed out there before noon. Just in our spot, like some 17-year-old from Connecticut just passed out cold. Total amateur hour. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so tempted. It's early enough too. I don't know what time the slate is tomorrow. Worst case scenario, by the way, if I go to the parade and it's a 12:30 start or whatever for the slate tomorrow on a getaway day, you'll have all the projections. Don't think I won't provide the content I'm obliged to provide. But yeah, debating it. We'll see. Anyway, I guess that's about it, gang. Weird show today. Felt like I was all over the place after getting thrown off early by that comment that we don't need to talk about anymore. I might follow up with that guy and find out what the hell that was all about, but I don't know. Not really. No real need to. Yeah, so get yourself a free week of Rotoscouts. Promo code TRYME on a first week of a weekly, 100% free. Enter the home run picks contest. With all that in mind, guys, projection update will be up in just a few minutes. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do at Rotoscouts on Twitter or in our premium Discord, which is linked down there. Come join the community, hang out. A lot of good people in the community. Evidence to the contrary earlier in chat, but we booted that guy immediately. Don't let that dude get to you. Yeah. It's just weird. It's like if you had come in here and said something like that, That guy's been around forever. And political affiliation notwithstanding, if you had just come in and been like, I can't believe you guys complained about the UFC event, I would have been all right with it. I would have responded. Throwing that word that he used at the end, what was the point? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Why be derogatory? Again, in 2026, we really care? Really? That's what we're debating anymore? I don't know. It was Michael Knack, Tall Tale. Yeah, that was the topic
and then just threw in a word that we don't use. You know, hey, look, you're from the 80s or whatever, and that was part of vocabulary back then. You should know better by now. It's only been 30 years that you haven't supposed to be using that word, right? Come on. Be better. It's a Melania thing, right? We can speak their language. Be best. As the First Lady says, be best. Not great grammar, but be best. Telltale, I'm not sure what his name is in Discord. I think it might just be the same. I don't know. I got to check. Anyway, gang, it's a fun show. Should be a good slate. Looking forward to this one. Have a good night out there. Go get them. Somebody go win something. Share the results when you do. At Rotoscouts on Twitter, in the premium Discord. We'll be back tomorrow for more, assuming I'm not at the parade and it's a day slate. I'll be back from the parade if it's a night slate. We'll see what happens. Later, gang.